right.
LBC
Mad for it.
from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Anybody care what this guy thinks?
You know, some whack job can say this stuff and get away with it?
A dramatic weather change is coming after a long period of unusually hot weather across much of continental Europe in recent weeks. Many countries and hundreds of weather stations have shattered their highest temperature records for June. Some even broke July records, and July's only just begun. Get the Carpenters on the phone, and they'll sing it to us. They're not picking up? Keep trying. The long-lasting heat dome and heatwave across a large part of Europe is collapsing. This will create a strong temperature and pressure contrast between the cold wave from the north and a decaying intense heat wave in the south, which will cause severe hail, flooding, damaging winds, thunder, lightning. Very, very frightening.
Rock and roll!
The Met Office says it's virtually certain that this week's 35-degree centigrade temperatures were caused by global warming. Past studies have shown it is virtually certain that human influence has increased the occurrence and intensity of extreme heat events such as this, says Dr. Amy Doherty, Met Office Chief Climate Scientist, who is an expert in possession of facts, so no one was remotely interested in anything she had to say. Dr. Amy, out of the Met Office, said, "Our climate projections indicate that hot spells will become more frequent in our future climate, particularly over the southeast of the UK. That is, if we have a future to have a climate in, one that's not an irradiated smoking ash heap, or one in which the world's people have not gone extinct because they ignored the climate crisis or the threat from artificial intelligence that'll wipe us out, or that a pandemic will drop the lot of us because we haven't learned any lessons from the last one because the whole human race is otherwise engaged in obsessing about flags and unisex toilets and what pop bands say at Glastonbury."
Fabulous.
Meanwhile, weather maps have turned a volcanic red as they show that Britain will be baking in another heatwave of at least 9 days from Wednesday, July the 9th. But as I've read that in the Express, it might not necessarily be true.
Correct.
Actual experts are predicting that tomorrow will be breezy with large amounts of cloud, some outbreaks of rain, most frequent in the west. Well, the northwest, I bet. I mean, I can check on that while you wait. One moment, please, caller. Your call is very important to us. We are experiencing a larger number of calls than normal. A representative will be with you shortly. Aha! It's raining at the moment in Glasgow. Can you believe that?
Yes.
It'll be raining tomorrow and raining on Sunday and raining... Not raining on Monday or Tuesday? Pfft, rubbish. It will be raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and raining on Friday and raining on Saturday and raining on Sunday the 13th and Monday the 14th and the following Tuesday and the Wednesday and the Thursday. Basically every day for the rest of your lives. For everybody else, would you like to hit the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
OK, middle 2 weeks of July. The northwest, wet, followed by more wetness. The southeast, dry and sunny, increasing heat and humidity. It'll be sticky as a baby's hands holding an ice cream that's just been stolen by a seagull. Then last week of July, first week of August. August. It's going too fast. It's practically winter again and Jesus' birthday just around the corner. I can't stand it. Last week of July, first week of August, changeable, by which I mean the same. Cooler and wetter in the northwest, warmer and drier in the southeast. Temperatures are likely to be above average with a chance of very warm or hot spells. Temperatures are likely to be above average with a chance of very warm or hot spells? We'll take it. Gary in Anglesey says, all this talk of World War III, Armageddon and Trump fixated on the word obliterated. I think it's time to get moving on a bucket list. I think that you should have started that ages ago. Time's up. So it's a real ale for me in the countryside at the Goose and Cuckoo, and then on to Ranjit's Chippy for fish and chips with lots of salt and vinegar and a wooden fork, says Gary. He's got a long route ahead of him. He's going to the Goose and Cuckoo. Other pubs are available. This text says, what a week. Donald got the great, big, beautiful bill. Jezza the Corbyn is making a comeback, and Brits are still in Wimbledon. Dreams are real. says that anonymous person who is just he's like beside himself or herself, sexist. Women can be anonymous too, you know, but rarely are. They're polite enough to put their name to a missive.
Be polite!
Appreciate it. David in Leeds says, good evening, Nick. Reform lost the Durham by-election. I think people are waking up to how useless they are when they get a sniff of power. I think Reform councillors thought you just grumbled about immigrants all day. No, there's flags too. Don't forget the flags. And the unisex toilets. Yeah, that's very, very important. You've got to get a handle on the important stuff first. Got to get all them flags down because, that'll really improve people's lives. Good grief. And this says, hi Nick, this week reforms leader Nigel Farashenko said he may include people from outside Parliament in a potential reform cabinet. I know they've got a lot of idiots in their party, so it might be a good idea. Good thing we got away from all those unelected bureaucrats. Yes, I know. Unelected bureaucrats he used to go on and on and on about.
I'm a nutcase.
Yeah. And as for having a few idiots in their party, well, that's just a rude thing to say.
We've got a few idiots in our party.
If you say so, Nige. You're an expert. Aylesford. Tony.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Yes, Tony.
I have lots for you tonight. Now, you were just saying in your little bit after Rachel, Labour, I think they've done well, but communication has been bad. I spoke to Ben about that last night, and I want to be an MP one day, but we'll let that go.
What do you want to be an MP for?
Well, I think I could make a difference. Don't laugh.
In what way? In what way? What is your overriding obsession?
Well, it's not an obsession, but I've been quite into politics recently, and I think that...
Recently? What does recently mean?
I mean, last couple of years.
Okay.
But I said to Ben last night I'd have to move again because I live in a Conservative seat. No, I do. I just don't think that... Look, I think that the current government, all of them, never went to private school, and I think that is a great thing. I really do. However, I'm glad they nipped it in the bud regarding Rachel Reeves because I didn't like the fact that Kemi Badenoch mocked her in that way. I think she should apologise, by the way.
Right, you seem to have skipped away from what I was talking about. Why do you want to become an MP?
Because I think I could help people.
In what way?
Oh, here we go. I don't know.
Well, you haven't really thought about it very hard, have you? I mean, being an MP is putting your head above the parapet. The press are going to have pot shots at you. They're going to level their cannons at you and pound away until you are destroyed. Are you ready for that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a football referee. Look, I can take it. Look, Nick
that's actually a pretty good answer. Wait a minute. I can take it. I'm a football referee. That's okay. You passed that test. Go ahead.
Palestine Action. Look, these weren't the 2 points, but please give me time. Palestine Action. Look, how can that be classed as a terrorist group? Come on.
I think saying that puts you on a list of a terrorist group, Tony.
Let them come for me.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't encourage them. I wouldn't encourage that if I were you.
No, they're idiots. Who would break into whatever? They're idiots. But, like John McDonnell said, the law is there, but you can't class people supporting Palestine as like some kind of terrorist group. I just think that's bizarre. Anyway, let's get down to business, please.
Haven't we got down to business already? You mean there's more? This was the preamble.
I did say that to your personal assistant, yeah. Oasis tickets, that's it. Now, apparently...
Oasis. Are they still as interesting as they were when I saw them live?
Boring!
They couldn't be more dull. It was the dullest live act I think I've ever seen. They were so boring.
I completely agree. And now, their first gig is in Cardiff. Now, I saw this on Facebook. I'm new to Facebook because this is... fans of you, by the way.
Okay, we're losing contact with you. £450 to go and see Oasis. You'd have to pay me £450 to stand there for 2 hours being inflicted by that stuff. £450? You're joking.
No, and I've moved to a new place, so if you've lost me, that's fine. I think they are the most overrated band in the world, but they're in Cardiff next week, and I can't believe it. I hope Jess calls in from Merthyr Tydfil, because that is a disgrace. Now, do you want me to sing one of their songs? They are the most overrated band in the world. Oh,
yeah, let me think about that for a moment. Do I want you to sing one of their songs?
No.
I don't even want to hear them singing one of their songs. No thanks, Tony, but appreciate the offer. Very, very nice of you to offer.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Paul in Shoreham says, did you happen to see Olivia Rodrigo at Glastonbury last weekend? Who was that? Olivia Rodrigo. I didn't know what to expect, thinking it might be music for 12-year-old girls, but I was pleasantly surprised as she actually rocked out.
Rock and roll!
She even brought Robert Smith on for a couple of numbers. Is that a fact? Is that Robert Smith out of The Cure, whose remixes album I've been listening to on and off the past week? It's pretty good, actually. I didn't think I liked The Cure, but that remixes album it's got some good stuff on there. It's like they're giving their songs to people like superstar DJs, and they've ambiented them up. But I have got no idea who Olivia Rodrigo was, but I've been slowly going through all of the acts, because, they're still available on a television near you. And I've been going through one of the ones, a lot of the ones that I've never heard of, and some of the ones that I have. And, God, there was a load of rubbish. I mean, there really was. Modern music's not that great. I mean, can we at least agree on that? That there are no real major stars anymore. I mean, that thing on Friday night, the 1975, I mean, it's really, that's the biggest act that is not a heritage act in the country. The people to lead Friday night at Glastonbury, the 1975, that's it. Seemed a bit thin, a bit weak. I mean, pleasant enough, I suppose. I couldn't get past how annoying that lead singer was with his pint of Guinness and his cigarettes. That just made me want to turn off straight away. The only two acts that really, really stuck out for me were, and I'm kind of surprised about this first one, was, oh, God, it was on the tip of my tongue. It's Gary Newman. Gary Newman, he really did rock out. That was great. And I like the way they were sort of dressed like they've just come from the apocalypse, from the other side of World War III. It looked like they'd been time-travelled. They time-travelled in from there. And Neil Young, of course, who blew absolutely everybody off the stage, most of whom were about a third of his age. Other than that, not much. And that is the official opinion of LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I don't wear a toupee.
Yvonne in Hastings says, hello, Nick. Reference to Donald when he tells us, I do not wear a toupee. His voice rises noticeably at the end. Does this signify anything? Yes, Yvonne, it signifies he's a great big fat liar.
Don't be rude.
OK, I take that back. Well, most of it, half of it back. Caroline says, please, no more heat waves. I'm going to have to move to Iceland. Well, there's another heat wave coming in around about Wednesday. It's going to be hot, hot heat. Let me just tell you what it's going to be like in London. It'll be sticky, kind of nasty. You don't really want to be in town when it's this warm. So coming up on Wednesday, 81, Thursday, 84, Friday, 85, Saturday, 87, Sunday, 86. It's, wow, once Wednesday comes around, it's going to be low 80s and sunny all day for about 2 weeks, which is as far ahead as the app on my phone goes. That's a bit too warm, isn't it? I mean, 76 is nice. 86, you don't really want to do anything. And neither can you assume that anything is going to work. As far as travel goes, for instance. the roads will be closed because of morons. The railways won't run because the tracks have buckled, or there'll be a wildfire by the tracks, or morons. You know, add morons to heat and then retire. Retire inside. Close the doors, close the windows, and close the curtains. 0345 6060 973. Here is a caller from Merthyr Tydfil called Jeff. Jeff.
Well, I suppose I had to call in, Nick. I had to. How are you anyway? Good.
I am great, mate.
Good. There's a couple of musical sort of balladeer minstrels playing in Cardiff tonight.
Oh, right.
I'm not interested personally.
No.
But apparently there's 100,000 people down there, all paying 450 quid.
Amazing. They can't all have paid 450 quid, surely. I mean, that's not the face value of the ticket, is it?
I have no idea.
No. Zero interest.
Yes.
Absolutely zero interest. I've seen them at the height of their success, and they were terrible live. Absolutely awful.
I've never seen them, to be honest with you. I have no idea what they're like.
They're boring. They just stand there. They just stand there giving it maximum attitude. Like the chump at the front who's got his cagoule zipped right up to his neck, and he just stands there with his hands behind his back like he's Prince Bloomin' Charles, and is stretching his neck to reach the microphone, which has been set about a foot too high for him. All right. And they don't say a word to the audience. They got zero act. They just stand there. It couldn't be more dull.
Apparently there's going to be another night of it tomorrow. So.
another night of expensive misery tomorrow. Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, I managed to get a ticket, but it's not for that.
Oh.
It's for the International Conference of Small Countries.
The International Conference of Small Countries.
Yes, people like Brittany and...
There were still tickets available for that?
I managed to get one out of the 150 seats that are there.
Right. And did you have to pay... What function of the ticket price did you have to actually stump up? Was it like 10 times as much as the face price of the ticket?
No, it was... Well, it could have been because it was some sort of fiver, I think it was.
A fiver, right. Well, there's money well spent. You can be guaranteed that Oasis won't show up. You're safe.
Yeah, anyway, looking forward to it. Look, the weather forecast, I have to pull you up on this.
Yes, go ahead.
You do not mention sea temperatures. Nobody does.
Well, no one's going to go in the sea round these parts. You'd have to be out of your mind to go in the sea. If you go down to the sea today, you're in for a brown surprise.
Yes, well, same colour as Trump. But the thing is, look, it's like a huge sponge, isn't it? The sea is like a huge sponge for the heat.
Not really. No, it's like the opposite of that. A sponge is what you soak water up into. So you got that very wrong.
Okay, I'm not very scientific. I'm just saying that,
you're not a doctor.
No, I'm just saying that you've got to watch the sea temperatures,
that's right.
not the land.
Right. Well, that's where the weather comes from. The water will heat the air, and the air will. I've got no idea.
Yeah.
The air is connected to the knee bone.
When it's hot, it goes up.
Right.
Basically.
Well, I hope that the audience is writing this stuff down, because this is important. Stuff you're learning on this programme. It's an education, no? No.
Well, look, Trump, I've been, to try to bring this conversation into some seriousness.
Yes. Best of luck with that.
I find that Trump's behaviour over the Ukraine is driving me insane. I am slowly going insane.
Well, just imagine this. If Donald Trump was an agent of the Russian state, would what he does be any different?
I would entirely agree with you. And no one has yet explained why his wife was shown without clothes on state Russian television
Yes.
on the day he was.
That's right.
royalist.
That's very, very true. Yes. No one has answered that question. And the assumption that I made at the time was that's Vladimir Putin reminding Donald who's in charge.
He's got a point, because and all joking aside, not giving them the HIMARS to intercept these massive drone attacks made by Russia, and civilian targets, Nick, and to do that and just to leave Ukraine defenseless, I just can't get my head around it. To be honest with you.
Well, it's part of the sort of smorgasbord of evil, nasty twistedness that is his presidency.
I'm president. Can you believe it?
No, Donny, we really can't.
The Goose and Cuckoo.
Yes.
Just for your information, the Goose and Cuckoo has a country folk day next.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, you lost me at country folk. But so thanks for the warning. Cheers, Jeff. 0345 6060 973. Anybody want to see go to a country and folk day? No. Absolutely. Albert in Croydon says, "Hi Nick, Starmer is a total failure. We've had U-turns, promises and failure without results. I predict a leadership challenge within 12 months and good riddance," says Albert in Croydon, who has done his homework. He certainly has looked into that whole Keir Starmer issue very, very closely, yes? No. Just repeating what he's read on the internet. Yvonne in Hastings says, "Hello, Nick. Ref the Don..." Oh, no, that's the toupee thing. Darrell in Ho says, "So shocking to hear that Palestine Action is going to be proscribed as a terrorist organisation for nothing more than trying to stop a plausible genocide. By the way, please read this out before midnight or I might end up in jail. And so might you." Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Don't even think it, because that could get you in jail as well. But, free speech and all that. Yeah, all that. Yeah, free speech. Norwich, Donna. Oh, Donna.
I love that. That's always got my name. I love that.
Yeah. And it's a great
band.
band as well. I mean, it's not any old band. It's 10 bloomin' CC.
No.
Yeah.
10 CC. Rock gods. I know. They're brilliant. I know. Nick, hello. I want to say that I really appreciate and I love the fact that you really like Norwich.
I really like what?
Haven't you before?
I missed everything you just said. Your phone dropped out.
You said, stupid phone. It's the mobile.
Yeah.
It's because I'm not using my landline. You said before.
Yeah.
I really like Norwich.
Like where? I can't hear a single thing you're saying, Donna.
Yeah.
I've got no idea. I tell you what, we'll call you back. We'll call her back. See if we can get her on a landline. Maybe there's something in the air. Maybe there's one of them sunspots that is hurtling in our direction. One of them, the sun's plasma, or I've got no idea. But wasn't the sun going to eject some, vast squirt towards us? And it was going to mess up all of our telecommunications. Maybe it's taken this time to get here, because the few calls that I've had so far have been pretty ropey, haven't they? I mean, ordinarily it's bad, but this evening seems particularly bad. So please use a landline where you can. Does anybody have a landline anymore?
No.
No, they don't. Apparently I do. I've been paying for it, but I have. I don't know what the number is. Neither do I know how to connect a phone to the thing that's in the wall, even if I did know what the number was. Because it's not the normal plug. I think you've got to plug it into the router. How does that work? Nobody knows. But at least I'm paying for it. Paul in Sale says, "Good evening, Nick. Regarding Stop the Boats, could you find me one to get me off this dreaded island, to get away from all the Oasis hype, please? On and on. I'd rather listen to a mariachi band covering their so-called hits than to hear them whining," says Paul in Sale. Oh, you must have seen them live too, Paul. Honestly, I cannot think of a single other band I've ever seen that was more boring to watch live than them. They didn't want to... It seemed to me that the band didn't want to be there, and I didn't want to be there either. And they were so dull on stage that I started to watch the audience, who were drunk, overweight white guys dancing to rock music. It was a lot funnier than anything that was going on stage, that's for sure.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Well, let's get back to it.
And by it, I mean Donna in Norwich. Donna.
Hello, Nick. Can you hear me?
Oh, clear as a bell.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I actually have got a landline, Nick, but then it's about 9p a minute, but it's so much better.
No, it's 9p a minute. When did you get the landline put in? 1974? 9p a minute? Nonsense.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
What? Do you mean that's dear or cheap?
Well, I can't believe anybody still pays for their calls on a per minute basis anymore.
Well, it's a certain amount, and then I think if there's any extra, then I pay extra.
Yeah, but you never use your landline, do you?
Do you know I do though, Nick? I do. Like if there's a call which I'm really like an important call that I have to have, then I say I'll give you my landline number.
Yeah. Well, that's nice.
My mobile.
Well, that's nice because you didn't do that to me, so you obviously don't think very much of this conversation.
I do. I value it. I value you. I do.
But not more than 9p a minute.
Well, I weren't sure how long I'd have to wait.
Right,
to get through,
that makes sense. Okay.
So,
right.
Being on the minimum wage and all that.
Yes.
But yeah, I just want to say that I love that you have said before in the past about that you really like Norwich.
Yes, I did. I really like Norwich.
Oh, it's lovely because that's like my hometown.
Right, what's the best thing about Norwich? Quick answer.
The best thing about Norwich is we've got some of the most loveliest medieval streets and Tudor buildings in the country.
It really is beautiful. I was really surprised. I wasn't expecting anything from it at all.
Really?
But, I went back. It was so nice.
Oh, that's lovely. Did you go in, have you been in, like, any of the museums, or is that your thing, or...?
Yes, I went to... There's a museum attached to the university. I think it's called the Sainsbury Centre. That's very good.
That is. They do some good exhibitions in there sometimes.
Yeah. What else? That's a while ago now. I don't recall. But I know that there's a very... there's a concentrated artistic community in that area of the map, and going up further north... there's no end of loveliness in and around Norwich.
Yeah, thank you. And there's some great pubs. And also we've got the 900-year-old castle in the city centre, which it's had 13 million from the National Lottery Fund, and it's just going to open in August, going to reopen it, and they're going to make it like how it looked like when it was first a castle. Like it's gone very back to when Norman built it, you know.
Norman who?
Not Norman, William. I meant William the Conqueror.
Oh, that
Norman
bloke.
Castle.
Right, yeah.
And they've done all the keep and everything and made it like where they just used to have all communal eating and living.
Oh, communal? That sounds pretty woke and hippie-ish to me. Yeah, I bet they had unisex toilets and everything.
Yeah, one love and all that. Yeah, great.
All right, well, I'll stick it back on my list, Donna. Thanks. Donna is just expanding on the delights of Norwich for us. I do believe that you will find it a marvellous place to visit. There's a hotel right in the middle there, and very, very nice indeed. I mean, there are lots of hotels probably in the middle, but I only stayed at one. I can't tell you what the name of it is because they didn't give me a freebie or anything. I paid full price. This says, if nothing else, your caller, the first guy who called. Thanks, by the way, Donna.
Oh, thank you, Nick.
You can.
Sure.
That's all right. You can hang up now because 9p a minute and all.
Sure. All right, thank you, Nick.
Okay,
Have a good rest of your show.
That's very nice of you, Donna. Now
I'm still going to listen.
Please hang up. There she goes. Finally. This says, if nothing else, your caller, that first one that I had, wanted to be an MP, but wasn't quite sure why. At least your caller can make a difference by taking a parliamentary seat away from a politician. He'll become a politician the moment he wants to sit in that seat. Paul in Coventry says, so much attention to the Oasis concert tonight, but it's a no from me. Why all the fuss when the real performance is in Birmingham tomorrow with Black Sabbath?
Rock and roll!
Is that their last ever gig? I think it is, isn't it? He made it to the end. Can you believe that?
No.
And that's him, by the way. That is Ozzy. So is it all going to be Black Sabbath? I guess it will. His solo material, not really appropriate in a band setting. But I would like to hear him do Perry Mason. Anybody want to hear him do Perry Mason? Of course you do. 0345 6060 973. On the other end of the scale, there's the topic at hand from this caller in Somerset called John.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Yes, John.
How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. I'm not in Somerset today, actually. I'm in Penzance.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, that's quite all right. I've had a really lovely day. And I'm actually ringing from a hotel room, from the bathroom of my hotel room.
Oh, yeah. Why are we in there?
Because my partner's in bed and she's snoring.
Oh, right.
And I was talking to your glamorous assistant.
Yeah.
And I said to him, can you hear that noise in the background? And he said, not very well. And I said, well, it's my partner snoring. And so anyway,
you're going to need another hotel room. Like, I mean, make it adjoining rooms and all, but she's going to need her own bed. How can you put up with that?
I don't know. She accuses me of snoring as well.
Wow. The nerve on her. I am shocked.
I've got an app on my phone that actually tries to record me if I do snore in the night.
Yeah.
And I've never taught myself snoring.
Well, here's a thing. A lot of apparently footballers and other athletes do this, taping their mouth closed at night, and it forces them to breathe through their nose, which has an effect to stop all that snoring and sleep apnea, and breathing through your nose is better for you, and it gives them a better night's sleep. So all you have to do is tape her mouth. Tape her mouth closed. I mean, you could start during the day. Tape her mouth closed during the day, and then work up to a whole, all night long. I'm sure she'd love that.
Masking tape.
Yeah, or gaffer tape. Duct tape. Anything will do.
I think you're going to get me in trouble with the authorities.
Yes, no doubt.
Not only that, this is like the first time I've ever engaged in lavatorial humour with you. I'm actually sat on a toilet while I'm talking.
Okay, way too much information. I hope the lid is down.
The lid is down.
Right. But you know that whoever cleaned the lid in a bathroom in a hotel, they clean the inside of the toilet with the same rag that they wipe the top of the lid with.
No, that's a terrible thought.
Yes.
Which that brings me to... I wasn't going to talk about any of this, but we've both gone off on a tangent.
Right.
I know you really like Kenny Everett, and so do I.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I remember in about 1978 when he had that Kenny Everett's video program or whatever it was called. Or was it called Kenny Everett's video program? Or
No, it was...
Kenny Everett's radio program, but it was on the TV.
No, it was... I can't remember. I mean, I used to watch it, like, religiously. It was on every Friday, wasn't it?
It was.
Just around about 6 or thereabouts. A little too early for some of the raunchy dancers.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I do remember that.
They were called Hot Gossip.
Yeah, Hot Gossip, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. But also, anyway... I don't know if he did he do something called Pigs in Space, or was that the Muppet Show?
No, that was, it wasn't Pigs in Space, it was Captain Kremen.
Oh, that's it. But it was a little bit like Pigs in Space, which reminded me of Katy Perry going on that rocket earlier this year.
Yeah, okay.
But
It was the Kenny Everett video show. Yeah, that was it.
Kenny Everett video show. Anyway, right, he was doing this thing where he said, I'm a bit of a germaphobe. And he said, when I go in the toilet, I don't want to touch the toilet seat. He said, so I've got an attachment. And he had this, like, little plastic clip thing. He said, they make them in Japan. And he said, you clip it to the toilet seat.
Hang on a minute, John. Are you actually recreating a Kenny Everett skit for us?
I'm trying.
You certainly are.
I've got the Bee Gees net.
Yeah, okay. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
Get out of the bathroom, John. Thanks a lot, mate. I'm just looking at the... is this one show?
I believe so, as far as I can tell.
Unbelievable. Listen to this lineup. Never mind about Oasis. This is a place to be. Tomorrow in Birmingham. Amongst others, Fred Durst out of Limp Bizkit. Mike Borden from Faith No More. Got Jonathan Davis from Korn. Duff McKagan. Sammy Hagar. You're kidding me. Slash. Wolfgang Van Halen. Tom Morello. Plus Billy Corgan out of Smashing Pumpkins. And Mastodon, Anthrax, Lamb of God, Gojira, Alice in Chains, Hailstorm, Pantera, Slayer, Metallica, and Black Sabbath with Ozzy Osbourne. Wow. My head's been blown.
Yowza.
That's incredible. And Ozzy is playing solo as well. So maybe he will do Perry Mason. I've never seen such a lineup on one day. Is that really just one day? That's astonishing. How they were going to fit at the same stage. But I guess they're saying goodbye to one of the bands that made that whole scene. Huh. And then you got Oasis.
Boring.
All right.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
Yes, and here are some of the acts that are playing in Birmingham tomorrow. And I've got the times when they're supposed to be on stage. Listen to this. Doors open at 11:30. Okay, that's doable. And that's the last thing that is probably going to be on time. Mastodon are on at 1:30. Well, I suppose you could get the first act on at 1:30 precisely. But then there's some other acts. Anthrax are on at 2:15, which seems a bit precise. It gets worse. Alice in Chains are on at 4:07. 7 minutes past 4. That is a time that doesn't even exist for a rock and roller. Pantera are on at 5:55. Tool are on at 6:17. Oh, come on. Slayer at 6:44. Guns N' Roses. I missed Guns N' Roses out. Guns N' Roses? What? 7:21. Metallica on at 7:53. Oh, come on, that's just silly. Ozzy's going to be on at 8:38. I betcha he isn't. Hands up anyone who wants to take that bet. 8:38. Do me a favour. And a curfew is supposed to be at 10:30. Yeah, and I bet that's not going to happen either. 0345 6060 973. Brighton. Hello, Caroline.
Hey.
Caroline.
Hello. You know, I've never phoned into a programme before, but I am so angry and furious.
Oh, no. What's happened?
Oasis are opening with a Gary Glitter song. The Gary Glitter song is I'm Good to Be Back. Every time that song is played in public, and it is being played on Sky News now, right? It's credited to Gary Glitter and Mike Leander. They get PRS money. Every time the song is played, a convicted paedophile...
No, hang on a minute. Wait a minute. I'm not sure that's true. I don't think...
It is true.
Wait a minute. Do you have to pay royalties if you perform it live? I'm not sure that's true.
Every time a song is played live, and it's... money has to go.
No, every time
to
a song
the
is
people who wrote it.
No, every time a song is played on the radio or the TV, then yes. But not when it's played live, surely, because how could they police that?
Okay, fair enough. Every time it's... I don't know that aspect, but what I do know is tonight, Sky News
Yeah.
are playing "It's Good to Be Back, It's Good to Be Back"
Right.
by Gary Glitter.
But you just sang
And
it,
Gary
Caroline.
Glitter-
And Caroline, you just sang it. And now we're going to have to pay for your performance
There
of,
you go.
of
There you
that
go.
song.
And what a great song it is. However,
Yeah.
that money is going into Paul
Right.
Raven, Gary
Okay.
Glitter,
All
Mike
right.
Leander. It's
All
going
right.
into their
Okay,
account.
but do you accept? Okay, all right, but probably not very much, because I'm not sure that if a band plays a song live, you actually have to pay. That. I mean, that could be true, but I don't think so. But I'm prepared to be told otherwise. But do you accept that you have to remove the, and I use the word loosely here, art from the artist, because otherwise the National Gallery would have empty walls all over the place?
Nick, I have one question for you.
Yes.
You know that there is a real spate of shoplifting going on in this country. There is a certain artist who is calling for shoplifters of the world to unite. No other than the greatest living Englishman, Morrissey. And he is also asking for the D-Day to be hanged and the disco to be burned down.
The D-Day?
I mean, at the same time, we've got a bunch of middle-class kids in the field asking for the death of a number of, you-know-what. I'm not going to repeat it. But, what's going on here?
I think you're being triggered, Caroline. Stop reading the mail. That's what's going on here. But I appreciate your concern. It has been logged. 0345 6060 973. This says, Nick, we're ahead of our greenhouse gas commitments. We're only a very minor contributor to global emissions, and many of the effects of global warming are positive for the UK. Can't you just enjoy a rare, nice summer in England? That's about the weather forecast that I gave some moments ago. And that kind of argument is like saying, well, we're all on a bus and the brakes have gone right enough and we're hurtling downhill towards the edge of a cliff, but can't you just enjoy the trip? Scott says, Nick, can we get away from Oasis and get back to singing drummers? Did you do your homework on Roger Taylor? No, I did not. Homework? But it's the weekend, sir. And Ian in Cornwall says, Nick, Tony being an MP, he's not able to answer a question. He's halfway there. That sounds like a savage swipe. Kind of thing that me and Carol talk about a lot.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, Carol and I do a podcast which is available on an internet near you.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's a problem-solving podcast. Now, we do need your problems. It could be a conundrum. It could be, an issue that you've wrestled with. It could be just something you'd always wondered the reason why. If you have anything that even remotely sounds like that, then send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com, NICKANDCAROL @global.com, and prepare to be totally satisfied.
Yeah.
What's your problem with Nick and Carol? With me and Carol McGiffin, there's getting on for about 350 episodes up there. And they come out twice a week. I think you'll love it. Hang on. That's better. Matt in Newmarket says, Nick, went to the charity shop this week. I realised the lady running the shop was an American. There was this big atlas on the wall, which I then pointed to Iran and said to her what she thought of her president. She replied in her dingling accent, he's trying to fix our country, and he'll sort out them Iranians. I laughed and I thought to myself, she just wants President Trump. Those people. What's she doing running a shop in Newmarket? That's bizarre. Clitheroe. Hello, Steve. Yes, Steve.
Hello, Nick. Sorry, I wasn't expecting you. I wasn't ready.
Are you ready now?
I'm ready now, yeah, because I've got detailed files, Nick.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Well, I'll come on to that.
Yes, come on to it straight away.
Well, this Facebook group, which all your fans are in, called Nick Abbot Radio Fans.
Well, I don't know it, but people have told me that such a thing is in existence.
Well, in order to get in that group, you've got to, instead of it just being full of random people, it's got to only be Nick Abbot radio fans, you see. So there's a few questions there when you try and get in.
No.
Just to...
You've got to pass a test?
There's the actual test.
All right, okay, test me. See if I could get in a group about me. Go on.
How quickly can Nick press the Michael Gove button on his computer screen right now?
How quickly?
Yeah.
You mean how many seconds will it take me to find this?
A major capital letters, big news story.
Well, relatively quickly.
Yeah, so the answer to that's 3 seconds.
Okay.
So if you get that right, you'll be in. No, it asks you who's your favourite callers, and then basically you can find out from that whether or not they're regular listeners. Because if they're not regular listeners, they don't get in.
Okay.
Simple as that. We've got 3 people, Nick, who keep coming up as the 3 favourites. And we're currently running a poll on that page right now to see who everybody's favourite is.
Okay.
Would you like to know who...
No, I would not like...
You.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I specifically do not want you to tell me the answer to that question. No, thank you. No.
Okay. Can I tell you about something else, then?
Yeah, go on.
Last week I watched... I don't know if I heard about it on your show, actually, but it came up on Netflix. It's Woodstock 99. Have you ever watched that?
Is that the one that ended in catastrophe? And
yeah, absolutely.
I think I have seen a bit of it, yeah.
But I was just reminded of that because half of those bands that you've just been talking about in Birmingham, they were on at that actual show.
Really?
Yeah. It was a hell of a set list of people who were playing, but it just, as you say, it just turned into an absolute disaster. But
yeah, I'm not sure that... You see, a long weekend of dark, heavy metal bands is going to attract a particular type of person.
Yeah.
I think that one of the reasons that Glastonbury is so successful is that it encompasses so much. I mean, I went several times and didn't... I mean, I've been about 10 times in all from about 1982... From 1982 onwards. And there was just so much to do that wasn't just pop or rock bands. I mean, I think that's the essence of it, that at any given moment, there's 100 different things to do.
And do you fancy it now, Nick? Would you go now?
I would if I could get... Now, I know this is going to sound a bit rubbish, but if I could get backstage passes where I could park next to my tent, like in the old days when you could do that, then yes. But
So only as a VIP? With
exactly.
A lanyard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No lanyard, no Nick.
Exactly right. If my name's not on the list, I'm not going in. No.
The final thing I wanted to ask your thoughts about this week, it's the Euro Women's Finals for football.
Oh yeah.
Which, of course, last time we played, it was running a year late because of COVID, but we won it last time. So all this, it's coming home. There's a lot of good jokes about it. It's like, for 50 years we've been saying it's coming home, but if you want a job doing properly, get a woman
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kicked off this week. England's first game is tomorrow. But what intrigues me is, I know this is a trigger for you, it's people on the internet. Whenever ITV Sport the other day, they put a thing on Facebook saying just a few more days to go now till the Euros kicks off. And you've got all these men and the most misogynistic words that they write underneath is just unbelievable. Now, they've all got a political sign as their kind of profile picture.
Yeah, well, they'll have the Union Jack or the Cross of St George, and
it's an actual logo.
Yeah, and a certain individual's logo.
I'm a nutcase.
Most probably.
Yeah. Now, these are the men who are so angry about Muslim women being repressed by the husbands. That's the thing that they hate, isn't it? The most, you know.
They can't wait to repress all of the other women that are currently being repressed like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it just amazes me. But
I think that's an indication of... Yeah, I got to go, Steve, but good work. Thanks a lot, mate. It's an indication of who we really are. I mean, we cover ourselves with a thin veneer of civilization, and we're relatively polite because of the consequences of not being so face-to-face with somebody. But look at the comment section on any story, in a right-wing newspaper or on online, and you'll see exactly who we are. Pretty awful, really. Unless that's an unpatriotic thing to say, in which case I withdraw it.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Okie dokie.
This is absolute tosh.
Thanks, Nige. You're the best. This text says, American Independence Day today. It was 1776. But in 1994, something better happened. Romário of Brazil eliminated the USA from their own World Cup. Tessa in Cardiff says, I was tempted to buy a knockoff Oasis bucket hat on my... a knockoff Oasis bucket hat on my walk home from the last Welsh College jazz session of the summer. It was exquisite, says Tessa, but I managed to restrain myself, she says. I can't believe that all the kids these days are dressed like they're in the Happy Mondays. What's that about? And they're dressed in a manner that doesn't look old to me. I mean, to them, they weren't born when the clothes that they're wearing now were being worn everywhere. And I have to remind myself that it's not still then. We've gone through like 20 years of people not wearing bucket hats and oversized everything, and now it's back again. And Stussy shirts and Keith Haring images and stuff like that. It's all back, and I have to remind myself that is the case. It is back. It's not a continuation of what's happened or what was happening in the 1990s. Yeah, it's all that period later. And what have I achieved in the meantime? Nothing. Actually, what have I achieved? What have you achieved in the meantime? Since Oasis first time around, what have you actually achieved? Be honest. 0345 6060 973. Melbourne, Australia. Hello, Gavin.
Hi, Nick. How are you, mate?
I am super. Thanks for asking.
Excellent. We've got Glasgow weather has hit us in a mighty manner. Yeah. We had a real Glasgow week last week, raining all day. But anyway, today's fine. So just hello to Laura, Jan, Jeff Goose and Cuckoo, and my learned friend Ranjit. Just quickly, I'm not a drawbridge shutter. I know the history of my country. I am a convict ancestry, and I'm not the Prime Minister, so I wasn't the one who's let the boats crash into the water. Okay, right. Let's go. On and upwards. Now, I've done a bit of homework for you.
Thanks.
Your family came to Western Australia, the Abbot name, in 1963, so you were 10-pound poms. You came from Leeds and you first settled in Western Australia. You departed Southampton and you arrived in 1964, and the family has become on to be very successful.
Right.
And leading on to that,
none of that has anything to do with me.
Well, that's your family history in Australia.
It's not my family that you're describing. Leeds is not a place where anybody in my family has ever lived, apart from me, for 6 months.
Oh, well, that's where the Abbots in Australia first came from anyway.
Right, well, the Abbots in Australia are not related to the Abbots of Britain.
Well, they came from Britain, so how aren't they related?
Well, there's many families with the surname Smith. They're not all related.
I understand that. You know where I'm coming from. Now, you have a beer named after you. I've sent Sick Boy an image of the can.
Yes.
Abbott's Lager was...
not Lager, it's Abbot Ale, surely.
No, it's Abbott's Lager. It was founded in 1904 by the Melbourne Co-op Brewery, later known as the Abbotsford Brewery. That's just up near Carlton.
Oh, right. So the Abbott's Lager is not associated with the much superior Abbott's Ale, which is brewed in this country.
Never heard of it. They just must have copied the name like we do with our suburbs and all that sort of stuff. It got taken over. It's a horrible beer, but it's back on sale.
Hooray.
They stopped selling it in, I think, 95, and they've just put it back a couple of years ago. So it's a very famous brewing company, and it's not the oldest, but it's the second oldest. The oldest is Tasmania, what's called Cascade Lager. And that's a beautiful beer because they
I think sorry to interrupt, but I think we're just off on a rant about beer now, and has got nothing to do with...
No, we're not. No.
Okay, then.
Anyway, Melbourne names matching your suburbs. We have Brighton, we have Ascot Vale, which is my suburb. It's linked to, named after Ascot Racecourse in England. We have an Ashburton, we have a Box Hill, we have a Heidelberg, we have a Chelsea, we have an Albert Park, we have an Armadale, and I can't believe it. We've got a Notting Hill.
Right.
In Melbourne, I didn't even know we had one.
Well, you're speaking too fast for me to write this stuff down, so I'm going to have to listen to it later. But unless you have something other than a list, I've got to go. Thanks a lot, Gavin. 0345 6060 973. I mean, you did say something at the end there, but I guess we'll never know. This says, on the subject of Oasis tickets, 40 years ago today, I went to see Bruce Springsteen and the East Street Band at Wembley. Ticket price £14.50. A bargain, particularly as he would been on stage for about 3.5 hours. 40 years ago. Blimey. Maybe it was 40 years ago. Maybe that was the gig that I saw half of. Now, when you say Wembley, do you mean Wembley... what do they call it? The arena, not the football ground. Because if it was the arena, that's the gig that I went to, and it was such a nice sunny day that we hung out outside and had some beverages, and waited for about an hour and a half for the people to go in, because it was this huge crowd outside, and they didn't go in. And so about an hour and a half later, we moseyed down to see how it was, panning out. And they'd been on for like 90 minutes. But fortunately, in those days, it was a 3.5-hour show, so we still had 2 hours to go. All of the people that were milling about outside were people that didn't have tickets. We felt right chumps. Chris in Stubbington says, Oasis, just so pathetic, I can't believe people may pay money to watch them sing, if you can call it that. I hope you had a nice week, says Chris. Yeah, I did. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Chris. That's him, just being polite.
Be polite!
Always. I think people are just trying to relive their youth, aren't they? The excitement of that whole period, Britpop and all that, and it was... this sort of manufactured contest between Blur and Oasis, which, for my money, Blur won in a landslide because Oasis were just a one-note band and Blur had no end of quivers to their bow. I mean, particularly Damon Albarn, with the Gorillaz and all that good stuff. He did do one thing, which was a Japanese kind of opera thing, and it was way out in the Docklands. I actually went to that, which is one of the worst things I've ever seen. So thanks a lot for that, Damon Albarn. It took blooming forever to get there and then back again. But, apart from that, very good stuff. Let's have Cardiff. Hello, David.
Oh, hello, Nick. Yeah. Talking about the thing I think we're talking about. Actually, it's an absolute bargain. You can get tickets for as little as £150.
Blimey.
But it's cutting. I working in a restaurant very close by to the stadium. We had a couple of people in from Mexico, and they're off to see Black Sabbath tomorrow.
Yeah.
We had 3 people in from Germany who come over for it. So for some bizarre reason, people seem to be very keen to go along to watch them. But, I'm with you. I thought they were dreadful. It's just whining, isn't it?
Yeah. A whiny band with attitude. And it's the attitude that kind of turned me off. I mean, that Liam, God, have you ever seen anybody in your life that thinks more of himself than that guy?
I don't think I've ever actually watched them, not even on telly, but, just when they come on the radio or whatever, it's just, how do they get to be so...
I mean, I get the songs, they're very anthemic, and they're very they're big, they're sort of stadium songs, so I get that, but as a live act, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if the track comes on the radio, I might turn it up, as opposed to turn it off. But as a live act, they're just abysmal, just really shockingly bad. And you know, the people who have spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and you know, with all the extras, with the hotels and all the extras, you're talking about, you know, not much change from 1,000 for a couple of people. They will convince themselves that they just had the time of their life because, you know, they've got back a little of their youth when their knees used to work and there was some distinct possibility that they'd get to have sex again.
Yeah, and you know the point you make time and time again, not just about Oasis, but about anything. How people are there filming things on their phones.
So annoying.
Well, in this restaurant, we couldn't get any signals all night. I finished there about 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But and the reason is because everyone's in there, you know, putting it live on Instagram or whatever. So there's just no signal anywhere near the stadium. You know, it doesn't happen for example, in a rugby match.
Yes,
because I'm quite often there.
Because people are actually watching it rather than watching it on a 3-inch wobbly screen that they're holding up in the air.
Yeah, I guess so. And you know, it's just a real nuisance because you know, you couldn't get hold of everyone. But anyway, you know, I mean, I don't care what, you know, people seem to be there and enjoying themselves.
If they enjoy themselves, who cares?
We're getting people in through the door.
Yeah. OK, well, good work. Thanks a lot, David. Appreciate it. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, I mean, if people are having a good time, then, you know, what do I care? I just don't want to go, that's all. I don't want to go, I don't want to hear about it, and I certainly don't want to talk about it, even though I do appear to have talked about it for about 6 hours already tonight. Andrew in Penzance says, Rod Stewart gasping like some old van brakes and... Rod Stewart gasping like some old van brakes, and now 2 50-something siblings who hate each other is the pinnacle of rock and roll. Pop has eaten itself, says Andrew. Yeah, I told you that Rod Stewart was going to be embarrassing, and right enough he was. And as for Ronnie Wood... Because when I saw Rod Stewart in Hyde Park, Ronnie Wood came on and they did not Stand By Me. Why do I have a mental block on that song? Not Stand By Me. It's you know, there's the Rockin' Faces song. They came on and did that, and I knew that he would do that again, and right enough he did. And God, I mean, when you're playing with the Stones, as he does, then being a bit chaotic is part of the sound of the band. But out there on his own, when he's just playing guitar himself, I think the chaos is maybe what he's capable of. Didn't sound particularly good to my ears. After which I turned it off and put on Gary Newman, who was actually really, really good. Oh, I tell you who else was amazing. The Ezra Collective. You ever heard of them?
Rock and roll!
Check them out. Let's have Jersey. Hello, Marco. Oh, Marco, I've just seen what time it is. Can I go for a break and then come back?
Yep, no problem.
Oh, a cooperative caller.
Thank you.
This is LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Oh, hello.
Yes, poshest Jersey. Hello, Marco.
Hello, Nick. Just a quick one. The lady who was talking about Gary Glitter getting royalties.
Yeah.
About 3 months before everything came on top, he knew it was going to, and he actually sold his whole back catalogue. And I think it was about £5 million, and everyone thought it was an absolute bargain. And basically, there's only one song that has actually ever been used in the Joker from that back catalogue. Nothing's ever been touched.
Well,
So
what was used in the Joker?
I'm trying to remember. It's when he was walking down the stairs.
It's not Rock and Roll Part 2, is it?
I don't know, but that was the only one thing that's ever been got any royalties from that back catalogue.
Right. Okay. Well, that's very interesting, Marco. How do you know all that, by the way?
Oh, to be honest, I actually know the guy that did the deal.
Oh, okay. Is he tax-free offshore Jersey? One of those?
Yeah, and he actually thought it was the best deal. He actually, I remember him saying, "I bought this back catalogue, £5 million." He said, "I'm going to make a fortune on it," because Gary Glitter at that point, nothing had been said.
Right. Yeah.
And then literally 3 months later, that back catalogue was not worth a penny.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Marco. 0345 6060 973. Like I said, you got to remove the art from the artist. And I know that the word art is doing some heavy lifting in this particular regard. But if, as I said before, if you can't do that, and everybody's reputation is dependent on whether they get shown or heard in public or not, then galleries all around the world, they're going to have to be taking hundreds and hundreds of paintings off the wall because, artists are awful, by and large. Films are going to have to get cancelled. Vast musical catalogues are going to have to get wiped. Yeah, and there's no end to that. I mean, once you start... then and what are we going to be left with at the end? The Carpenters. That's it. The Carpenters and Val Doonican. That's your lot. That's all you get. 24 hours a day. And I maintain that Rock and Roll Part 2 is one of the great pop songs of all time. There, I've said it. This text says, worst live performance I've seen is Bob Dylan at the Royal Albert Hall. Sat next to a musician that I do respect, and at the interval he left saying he'd rather be home watching the telly. Well, when I was watching the Sopranos... Absolutely. For the first, second, third, fourth and fifth time, that's the decision that I always used to make when I was out. I used to think, in a theatre or a concert or something like that, I think... is this better than The Sopranos? And the answer was usually... No. So, right, that's it. I'm leaving. The amount of things that I've left halfway through. I'm almost never left before halfway, but quite often the excruciating period up to the interval seemed to go on for like a lifetime. Some of the shows that I walked out on are still on stage. I cannot believe the quality of some of the shows that people fight to get tickets for. Just terrible. And on the other hand, there are some great shows that are constantly got adverts for cheap tickets. Want to know what to go and see? On at the West End? Well, the only thing that I can think of that I've seen lately that is really, really super great and such a lot of fun is, and you would probably dismiss it because, it's a show of a film, but it's Back to the Future. It's great. Pietro says, I was at Glastonbury and for Neil Young's show there was no one there. He was surprisingly okay. But I was at a barrier for Pulp, which was incredible. Best festival set I have ever been to. Jarvis on top form and had 100,000 people singing his lyrics back to him. Well, Pietro, you seem to be, you seem to have the ability to count crowds, which I'm not sure that that's true. Did he have 100,000 people? Not sure that's true. But he was very good. And Neil Young was better. Neil Young wiped the floor with everybody. I mean, he had more rock and roll vitalness about him than all of the other acts put together on that stage that day. Neil Young. Ringmer in East Sussex. Hello, Louisa.
Hello, Nick.
Lisa.
Hi. How are you?
I am super. Thanks for asking.
Good. Yes, lots of talk about concerts and stuff. I've got a couple of things to mention, and one of them does sort of involve a concert because it's about the people on the train to the concert and the people on the train on the way back from the concert.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, London, Sunday night. So it was going back from this area, which is Lewis, towards London, from Eastbourne. And oh my gosh, the train was just full of sweaty, burnt bodies. Well,
what was the concert?
The concert I went to was one at the Albert Hall again. It was very disappointing, actually. It was Ludovico Einaudi, who I absolutely love. But very quickly, he played all new stuff, and I didn't like it. I liked old stuff. So.
But why would why would people be burned, though? It's inside.
Because they'd all... No, these were the people coming back from Eastbourne from the weekend of really hot weather. So they'd been on the beaches, like either Brighton Beach or Eastbourne Beach.
Oh, I thought you were describing to me the people who had been to a concert back and forth.
No,
and they were. I thought you were going to tell me they were okay going and an absolute nightmare coming back.
No, it's a train. The train journey going. I was literally sandwiched between sweaty, burnt bodies all the way up there for over an hour. But listen, on the way back, very worrying. Everyone in Victoria, all the young people were dressed like in cowboy boots and mini skirts, and the boys had cowboy hats, and the girls had. I thought, what's going on?
What's going on?
Is this the new fashion for the young or whatever? Anyway. On the train on the way back, one of the young girls was playing a video of what they'd all just been to, you know. She was really drunk, but that's beside the point. It was some yeehaw event in London. And I thought...
I don't think London and yeehaw is not really a good mix.
Well, that's what I thought, but honestly, Victoria Station was full of yeehaws at 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 on a Sunday night.
Well, I can't imagine what they went to.
Something yeehaw.
Yeah, something yeehaw-ish. Yeah, ding-a-ling associated, yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking, no, that means Trump's getting more and more popular with the young, because they must support Trump if they support yeehaw,
Well, I don't know. Were there any MAGA hats in evidence?
No, actually, no MAGA hats, lots of cowboy hats. But then quickly, that takes me on to two things I've been wanting to phone you for ages about.
Yeah, my glamorous assistant has asked me to ask you, when was this? Last Sunday?
Last Sunday.
Right, we're going to look into it, Louisa.
Oh, yeah, do that, very strongly. But that brings me to two Trump names. I don't know if you're still collecting them.
Well, it depends on how good they are. I mean, I do have a list.
I know. Well, he's always shouting when he feels, shouting his lies so people believe them. Well, the first one was Tangerine Trumpet Face.
No.
Because he's got a face like a trumpet when he shouts.
No. No.
Okay. I just thought the small hole reminded me of the bit in the middle of the trumpet.
No.
And the second one was the evil orange stain.
Wow, definitely not.
Definitely not?
Definitely not, no. But good work, Louisa.
I've got other things. I've got something about Nigel Farage as well.
Okay, in brief? Yes.
Yes. Well, there's a mass lobby on Wednesday at Westminster. Everybody who cares about the climate change is going there, lots of different groups, to talk to their MPs. Okay, so with lists, and you have to collect lists from your area, and I did it on behalf of Greenheath. I did Ringmer with a couple of people, and I had to ask permission of the shopkeepers to get this little table out in front, and we put a Greenpeace tablecloth on and all the flyers.
Yeah.
I know, for the mass lobby on Wednesday. Very important, 9th of July. You're in the know now, so,
Well, I am. I've got other things planned.
But anyway, that's a shame.
And if I don't have anything planned, then I will make up something in order to avoid going. Yeah, but I wish you have my full support. If not my actual,
I have to tell you something really funny that happened.
Just stepping all over me, Louisa. You have my full support. If not my actual help.
Oh, thank you. I love the ding. Anyway,
and finally.
I said to the shopkeeper who's in charge of that little group of shops, I said, I had to ask permission to have a little table out, you see. And I said, would you mind if we had a table out, blah, blah, what we're doing. I said, it's Greenpeace, so we'll be very peaceful. And anyway, it was all going well, and the other two ladies were much more peaceful than me. But I was grumpy because the night before I'd been on the train and didn't get back to 1 o'clock to this concert. Anyway...
Is this the funny thing that you're going to tell me?
The funny thing
it's coming up. Okay.
It's just now.
Yes.
This man came up to me. He was so rude. He said, I hate Greenpeace and I don't believe in climate change. And he started being quite abusive. And he tried to dive into a shop and I ran after him. And I said, I suppose you're going to vote for Nigel Farage.
And he said, I am Nigel Farage.
He just dived into the shop and looked at me as if I was a complete lunatic.
Yes, well, I can understand that. I mean...
What?
Thanks a lot, Louisa, and I wish you all the best. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. That last thing she said was, you're on my side, aren't you? Well, more your side than his side, that's for sure. Here are some of the names that I've got for the Tangerine Tornado. Uncle Scam, Donito Mussolini, Trumple Thinskin, The Screaming Mimi, Ancient Orange, Jaffa the Gut, the Peach Powder Puff President, Agolf Twitler, Hairbrained Hairstack, Fiberace, that's one of my favourites, Fiberace, the Terracotta Toddler, Yosemite Scam, that's a good one, His Majesty, there's a new one for you, and Emperor Squeaky Tanks.
Oh, shut up!
There are others, but I've run out of time.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Have an outside line, please.
0345 6060 973. This text says, Nick, please use Celsius, not Fahrenheit. Yeah, well, let me think about that for a couple of seconds.
No.
No, as any fool know, Fahrenheit is for summer and Celsius is for winter, because you know where you are with 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Or what the Celsius equivalent of that is, I've got no idea. Let's say it's 40, as a guess. It might be 35. Never mind. Doesn't sound very hot, does it? 80, that sounds hot. 35 doesn't. And equally in the winter, you know where you are with 0 Celsius, that's bloomin' freezing. But Fahrenheit's about 32, and that doesn't sound too cold. So the switch over is, once the weather changes, that's when I switch. And it's Fahrenheit all the way, baby, until it isn't. Matt in High Wycombe says, I was watching Trump today doing one of his Nuremberg rally-type events, and my favourite part was when the crowd cheered as he announced the huge upcoming tax cuts. I'm not sure many of them were aware that the tax cuts weren't for them, but for his rich buddies, and the cuts will be paid for by their Medicare being reduced. Still, never mind. They just want President Trump, says Matt. Yeah, and I'm not sure that the reality of everything that he's doing to them will sink in, because they've joined a cult. They're too far gone. And to admit that they've been had would be too much loss of face and too much loss of hope. So they'll never admit it. They will just do what Donny does and double down. They're unreachable at this moment. And an attack on Donald Trump is received with great fury by those people, because he's not their president, he's their identity. That's why people say things like, he always tells it like it is. Well, he doesn't. He just repeats what they think. He talks like they do. Same with Farage. People say the same thing about him. He tells it like it is. Really? Name one single thing he's ever said that he's actually followed through on. I mean, Brexit is his marquee policy. Name one thing that he promised from Brexit that actually came true. One. I'll make it super easy for you. Just one. And the people that can't name a single solitary thing will be the very same people who say, he's great, he tells it like it is. Right. They're gone. They've joined a cult. It's a personality cult. South Shields. Hello, Joanne.
Oh, good evening, Nick. And you're absolutely correct about the temperature.
Yes. Thank you.
I hear it on the news, and then I have to get the phone and Google it.
Exactly.
I mean,
what does 35 centigrade actually mean? No one has any idea.
Don't know, Nick. The reason I'm phoning, well, firstly, can I say what drew you
drew me to your show is, I remember you once nattering on and saying how much you loved Led Zeppelin, and you did an Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation. And I said to my son, this guy's great, you'll love him. So I just thought, yeah, that's a mark of a pretty good person, Nick.
And what did your son say?
He went, he sounds rocking.
Right.
Yeah, because he's stuck in China, and he said state TV is driving him mad.
Oh.
So he's looking for podcasts.
Do they?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to listen to a podcast that comes from outside China, in China?
If you get a VPN and pretend you live in a different place.
Right.
Yeah, and he's up in Chengdu near the Dalai Lama and the Tibetans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his wife is pretty sort of anti-government, and she's an artist who does all these anti-government things. And I'm like, well, she better hide that.
Yeah.
I know. But what I wanted to talk about was music. Now, I think we could solve the deficit financially. I think we could improve young people's mental health if we just give kids in school. I know it sounds really sort of Jeremy Corbynish, but give kids guitars and drums and mix and desks. They'll stop crying, they'll feel better, and we're really good at it in this country.
Yeah, it's one of the few things that we really punch above our weight in music and entertainment of all types. The whole world comes to us, and we outperform even America. I mean, we took American music and we sold it back to America, and we're more successful at making their music than they were. I give you the Rolling Stones as evidence of that. And it just seems a shame to me that it's so difficult for kids in school to get music lessons or even to get their hands on musical instruments, because it's not considered essential, like maths.
But it is.
Well, I think so.
It's in China because it's music.
Oh, really?
He started off doing maths and science,
Yeah.
but I had a piano at home, and my dad paid for piano lessons and violin lessons, and then I bought my son a guitar.
Yeah.
And he came in from college and went, I'm ditching physics and maths, and I'm going to do art, because you've inspired me. And I worked in the university at the time and went, oh my God. But now he's built his own app, and he's an animator, and he's been headhunted back because he did art and design and stuff like that. So,
well, all those people, all those people who did what they thought was the right thing. They studied maths and physics and all of that stuff, and computer programming and all of that, thinking that those were the jobs of the future. Well, we come to find out Come to find out just lately that those are not the jobs of the future, because a robot will be doing those jobs.
Affirmative.
A robot has just fired all of those people, and that's not an exaggeration.
They already are over there, Nick.
Yeah.
Most people have lost their jobs.
Right.
Yeah, can I just say one thing quickly?
Of course.
You know the ladies of LBC,
The
and
what?
the guy phoned up. I call them the wise women. You have Laura, the resident vet.
Yeah.
When she said she bought a glockenspiel and a disco ball for chickens, I thought, I like her. Then you have Jan, who has a cupboard full of potions and remedies if you have a bad throat, who you tease a lot, and when she laughs, that's really funny. And we have our lovely Rose, who cheers us up with music.
Yeah.
So I see them as like the three witches from Macbeth, but much prettier than that, Nick.
When shall we three meet again? Yes.
Yes. They're my favourites.
Okay, well, as soon as this pot starts a-bubbling, then I'll let you know, all right?
Take notice of Jan's remedies. They've got scientific... There's nasal spray with salt water. That's a scientific thing, Nick.
Yeah,
it can
I very much
lessen your
doubt
cold.
that. Yeah, I seriously doubt that that's true. But thanks a lot, Joanne. Thanks for the bad advice. Don't pour salt water up your face. Sarah says, all of this talk of the horrendous heat in the UK is making me homesick mid-holiday. We're 1 week in, based near Salerno in Italy, and today it was 104. Wow. Note to self, don't be an idiot, Scotland next year. Can you not pick somewhere that's kind of in between? There's just a toasty 80 degrees. I mean, the thing that I like about when it gets to 80 degrees is that the evening is still warm here, and that almost never happens. Like, I feel the chill, so if it's below, 75, then I start putting clothes on. But it's so nice to be able to leave the house and not think, well, do I need a jumper? Do I need a jacket? Do I need this and that? And, because later on it's going to get cooler. But it's just wonderful to have a warm evening, isn't it? That's the kind of thing you only get on a holiday, ordinarily. But not now, thanks to global warming.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Jim in Hassock says, last week you said that bass and drums do not contribute much to any music apart from maintaining the rhythm. Once again, I have to correct you. Listen to Masks and Earth Dance from the album Masks by Brand X. I know you won't do this, but so what, says Jim. No, I won't do that. In fact, I've forgotten what it was the moment I read it. And I'm not saying they don't contribute much. I think I specifically said that nobody goes to see a band for the drummer or the bass player. And I know that people got their fingers in the air going, well, what about Sting? What about Pink Floyd? Yeah, I know that. But sometimes the bass player is the singer. People go to see the singer and the guitarist. They don't go to see the drummer. I mean, even the most entertaining drummer of all time, Keith Moon, out of The Who, still people didn't go to The Who to see him. It was still Rog and the other bloke. Pete. Rog and Pete, yeah. £4 to see The Who in 1976 in Celtic Park. 4. At the head of a massive lineup. Second gig I ever saw. The sensational Alex Harvey Band were the main support.
Rock and roll!
And they were a bloomin' fantastic. Alex Harvey up on a huge step ladder to do, which song was it? Probably Framed. Probably that one. Battersea. Hello, Hugh. Oh, Hugh, is there anybody out there? Too late. Let's have Cumbernauld. Hello, Andrew.
Oh, good evening, Nick. How are you doing tonight?
Yes, very well, thanks.
Well, talking of gigs, I've got a couple of gig anniversaries. Last Monday was the 15th anniversary of the last gig I went to, which was AC/DC at Hampden.
Wow.
And the next Wednesday is the 35th anniversary of the first gig I went to, which was the Strolling Bones, also at Hampden.
Huh. Who was better?
I would have to say Stones slightly better.
Really?
I would think. Yeah, but they were both absolutely phenomenal. But I wouldn't go and see AC/DC again. I think they're too old.
Although, yes, they are old, but I think they're not as old as the Rolling Stones. But then, of course, no one is as old as the Rolling Stones.
No.
But if
not
you
quite,
see
no.
them do that concert, and I'll say this again, they did a gig that's available on YouTube, and it's called AC/DC at River Plate. I mean, they are old, but you watch that young crowd bounce up and down. It's like nothing you've ever seen.
I mean, there's one band that I never saw live that I would love to get back together again so that I could see them live. And I don't think it's a band that everyone's heard of. It's a band called the Blue Nile. I presume you've heard of them?
I do have a CD of the Blue Nile. I can't remember anything about it. I haven't played it in pretty much since I bought it, but I can... Yes, I could put my finger on it if I was at home almost straight away.
Yeah, phenomenal band, and they won't be listening, but if they were listening and if they wanted to dust off their instruments and go back out, they would have. I think we're sure there would be a huge following, especially up here.
Yeah,
because they were a Glasgow band.
Cumbernauld is the place to play. As if they do get together, then I'll send them round your place. All right.
Okay, and just to say, I've also got a beer that wasn't technically named after me, but should have been. It's a beer called Bitter and Twisted.
Know thyself, Andrew.
Yes,
Yeah.
so if you happen to see it in a bottle in a supermarket near you,
I'll think of you.
I can thoroughly recommend it.
Yeah, I'll think of you while I'm drinking it. All right.
Yes.
Good work. Thanks a lot, Andrew. 0345 6060 973. There was so much else I wanted to talk about tonight. I mean, there was no end of things that I had to talk about. If we don't get around to them, then I'll do it later. Later. I'll do it on the Saturday show. But among the things that I've got detailed files on are the new left-wing party, the reform flags and books obsession, Farage 1 year in, Labour Party's 1 year achievements, their manifesto promises, whether they kept them or not, and what's Starmer done for us, the 4-day week, drunken seagulls, and graduate jobs going, which I guess we touched on just moments ago, but I have way more to say about that. It's robots are taking our jobs.
Affirmative.
Yeah. They're terminating us with great vengeance.
Correct.
0345 606. But, you know, we're busy talking about the issues at the moment, so, I mean, you can call about all of that sort of stuff, but I'm not insisting on it.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm great, mate. Thanks for asking. Andy in Horsham says, how come you never say anything nice about President Trump? What about the time he helped an old lady across the road, or when he nursed a young deer back to health after hitting it with a golf cart? We never hear about the good things. This says, the other day I saw a seagull and a magpie fighting over food in Kensington. The odd thing was the seagull started to meow like a cat, which was shocking. Is that normal? Do seagulls meow now? It may explain their disdain for humans, like cats. Huh. This happened in Kensington. A seagull and a magpie fighting over food in Kensington. Well, I don't know anything about that, but I do know about this. Drivers have been warned to keep an eye on the skies for drunken seagulls flying in a disoriented state.
What?
Animal rescue organisation Something Wildlife, that's SOMPTING, Something Wildlife, have urged members of the public to keep an eye on the birds ahead of Flying Ant Day.
Oh, no.
Yep, it's that again. I hate Flying Ant Day, where swarms of winged black ants take flight across the UK to set up colonies and mate with each other.
Disgusting.
You believe that? In public, where children can see them. They fly in swarms to protect themselves from predators and increase their chances of mating, according to the Natural History Museum. Says this Mail article. I'm pretty sure that it was a person from the Natural History Museum who said that, but it could have been the building itself. It's a very clever building. The event is marked by a hot and humid day, often taking place in July, but can be as late as September. And they all crawl out at the same time. How do they do that? And you can't avoid standing on them because they're blooming everywhere. The event is sparked by hot and humid weather. Although they are harmless, they can have occasionally an irritating impact, previously interrupting a tennis match in July 2018 between Caroline Wozniacki and Ekaterina Makarova. Aye? But what's that got to do with seagulls? I hear you cry. Well, according to Something Wildlife, the animal rescue organisation, the ants release formic acid, which causes the birds to become drunk and disoriented.
Booze.
A spokesman for Something Wildlife Rescue said the young ants have started hatching across the country, and while that is part of nature's rhythm, it is bringing unexpected trouble for our local gulls. He said these ants release formic acid as a natural defence. In small amounts, it's harmless. But when gulls gobble down a feast of ants, it can cause them to appear disoriented or drunk, stumbling around and struggling to fly properly. I would like to see that. Hey, gulls, straighten up and fly right. Like Nat King Cole.
Rock and roll!
A spokesman for Something Wildlife Rescue said this sadly makes them much more vulnerable near roads as they may not move quickly enough to avoid traffic. Excellent. We can start the fight back for our chips. They've urged anyone who spots a gull acting strangely by the roadside to give them space and allow them a little time to recover. No! Get them while they've got their guard down. They wouldn't give us time to recover, would they? Don't give them an inch. 0345 6060 973. Watford. Hello, Gary.
Oh, hello.
Gary.
Yeah, I just rung in. I was so busy laughing at some of the comments made and everything. I can't get into this programme properly. Right. Have you got on your list about Trump, have you got a fake tanned tyrant?
I don't.
Or would you say there's no such thing, it's all true? It's just fake tan?
Right. No, that's not going, not going on the list.
No, all right, fair enough. That's just fake news. I was listening to other people's comments about music, and I just think next year is going to be the 50th year of punk. So I think a lot of people should get into it, especially our age. It should be quite insane, wouldn't it?
Well, I think that if you're our age, then time's gone to get into punk.
Well, I'm 62, and I thought you would be at least about
that.
60, about that, yeah.
That's right.
Just a one-off, just for a laugh.
We did it when we were the perfect age, Gary. Like going back and listening to that stuff now, no.
I went and saw the Ramones, or a version of the Ramones, last week at a little bar in Johnny's. It was fantastic. Honestly, I've been deaf for a week.
A version of the Ramones?
Ramones, yeah, really good.
Your tribute act, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, really good.
Right, not the Ramones, because I saw the Ramones in Amsterdam.
Ramoanz.
Right. Okay, not that Ramones. No, I saw the Ramones in I think it was called the Milk Bar, isn't it? That was a little club off Astoria, by the Astoria. The Milk Veg. I bet it's the Milk Veg. Saw them in Amsterdam. Absolutely hilarious. I mean, they were just proper laugh-out-loud funny. They had no gaps between the songs at all, apart from one of the bands saying 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they would go straight into the next song. Like, one song would end, and then they would literally, at the end note of that song, they say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they go straight into the next one. There was about a 1 or 2 second gap between every song they played, all night long. And the first note of every song hit the entire band like they dropped weights onto them. They all sank down with the first note of every song. It was just so funny. They're like cartoon characters. Oh, they're great. But yeah, you're quite right, Gary. 50 years of between the start of punk and now. God, that is. And what have you done in the meantime, Gary?
Well, what have I done in the meantime?
Yeah. Nothing.
I'm still actually into it. I still like going to some of the gigs, so, you know. Well, I can't do anything.
I like all that music, of course, but I think it's if you didn't get into it then, it's too late now, I think.
Nah. I'd just like to see a bit of chaos, because I've heard about Parage and people like that. I mean, really, we need to sort of get if not the actions and the attitude towards them, rather than sort of kowtowing to them, you know.
Right. I'm not quite sure what you just said, but you're not saying that.
We're actually, instead of kowtowing to them, we should actually take a punk attitude and stand up to them, because they've got too many, you know, people in this country who'd rather doff the cap rather than to stand up.
Well, they're desperate to join a cult because it would give them, it would give their lives meaning, and it would give them hope that even though they've been lied to and lied to and lied to and lied to, if they put their faith in them, then, you know, next time they won't lie. That's the hope. Best of luck with that. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Gary. Yeah, it's, you know, on the, they're showing old episodes of Top of the Pops, and I don't look at them, but I look at the lineup to see if there's anybody on there that I'd want to record. And occasionally they will put 1976, 1977 up there. And what we were actually listening to, well, the country when punk was on, was so not punk. What people were going out and buying, it would be like Brotherhood of Man and ABBA and Sailor and, you know, it's all that kind of stuff. Punk didn't get a look in. As far as record sales goes, it was kind of a... For the effect that it had, it was very small beer. I think, like in 1976, the best-selling song, wasn't it Sailing by Rod Stewart? Something like that. Something really, really beige and, like easy listening music. That's what people were listening to when kids were bouncing around, gobbing at each other. At each other! That was my least favourite part of punk, the spitting. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on WhatsApp, it's the same number as the phone, 0345 6060 973. I bet Brotherhood of Man didn't get anybody spitting at them.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Yeah! Hot air. Hey, shorty, hour.
Yeah, I'm not sure Oasis reforming to do some gigs is history. I think history history happened already. This isn't history. This is like a rehash of history. This is just a retelling. Lee in Worthing says, Gary Newman was superb, although I was expecting some electronica, but the heavy metal goth music was great, says Lee. And Dan in Sanderstead says, sorry, I ended up 26 minutes late today tuning into your programme because of a memory corruption bug of the IP6 default local route on my fancy switch. What? Can you rewind time 26 minutes, please? Your show is that important. Well, let me think about that. I'm going to look into that very strongly. Of course, if you do miss any part of this super show, or you just get too tired and you can't stand it anymore, and you've got to go to sleep, then the Friday and the Saturday night show gets put up the internet as a podcast. Oh, yeah. It's exclusive to Global Player and the LBC app, which is free from your app store. They both are. And the thing to ask for is Nick Abbott, the whole show podcast of the Friday and Saturday night shows. Nick Abbott, the whole show podcast. And the idea is we take the news and most of the ads out. Mostly. Which means it takes less time to listen to, which will give you more time to think how beige and bleh the 1975 are. I'm just trying to help. Kerry, Shetland Islands.
Hello, Nick.
Kerry.
Hello. Hey, I've been dying to phone you. Lovely to hear your voice on the radio here in the Shetland Islands.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. Hey, it's 14 degrees here, which, by the way, is 57 Fahrenheit.
Ooh.
We get free air conditioning up here, not like you folk down there.
Have you had any warm weather lately?
Well, it did get up to about 68 degrees once. And I tell you what, you can get a suntan up here in about 15 minutes because we haven't got any particulates in the atmosphere.
Yes.
It's lovely.
We had
friends.
clean.
Yeah, we had friends up here from the south some years ago, and they were sitting in the garden. It was in June, July, and they went back down south, and everybody was saying, "How did you have a nice time in Spain?" They said, "Why do you say that?" "Oh, well, look at your suntan." They said, "We've been in the Shetland Isles for 2 weeks."
Well, they're very brave to divest themselves of their clothes in the Shetland Islands for long enough to get a tan.
Well, that's it. You know, we do get seagulls up here, but they're all right. We get loads of varieties of seagulls. And, you know, we're on the same latitude as the southern tip of Greenland, you know.
Well, fortunately, now I can never remember what it's called, but it's the periordinal something or other. It's like a conveyor belt of warm water that keeps this country clement.
Oh, whereas you mean the Gulf Stream?
I don't think it's that. It's something else, but it's more or less that. Yeah.
The Atlantic Drift. It's the Atlantic Drift. That's it.
No, that's not it either.
No.
I feel we're getting closer.
Well, we do get people swimming in the sea up here. I mean, I look out my front window and the seals on the beach quite regularly.
Yeah.
We get orcas in the bay. We get dolphins in the bay. And we look across and we think, there's some idiots swimming out there. It's about maybe about 10 degrees, maybe even 8 degrees out there in the water.
Yeah, never mind about the temperature. It's the orcas and the seals part is what concerns me.
Why is that then?
Well, they would have a tendency to eat you, I would imagine.
Oh well, somebody did get nipped one day by an orca. The orca thought was the individual was a seal.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
Well,
his fate was almost sealed.
Well, and the orcas would be disappointed, and you'd be dead. Yeah, I wouldn't go out into any body of water that is not surrounded by tiles. Promise me you'll do that, Kerry. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. This text says, Nick, I started going to Glastonbury in the 1980s, and you could camp by wherever vehicle. That doesn't make sense. I'll read ahead and then I'll translate it into English. I started going to Glastonbury in 1980s, and you could camp by wherever vehicle, and I think it was only nearly 30 quid. Plus you could buy your ticket in whichever your local box office, but I avoided indie rock mostly. Does that make sense?
No.
Sort of. Yeah, the first time I went, you could park in the field that the pyramid stage was in and put your tent next to your car. Jay-Z, this says, did his bit at Glastonbury for making us nostalgic for Oasis. Best thing that happened with Oasis was Liam trying to pick a fight with Mark Lanigan of Screaming Trees. I've got no idea about any of that. I don't know. This text says, forget Norwich. Have you been to Hull? It's got such attractions as the ISIS oil mills. Yes, the terrorist state of ISIS bought an oil mill and it overlooks the sky. What? I wonder if any of that's true. Probably not. I have been to Hull. Long time ago I went to Hull. Yeah. I wasn't keen to rush back. They had what was called a submarium. Now, it was recently opened. It's probably still there because it looked like an expensive looking building, but it was apparently the world's only submarium. I have no idea what defines a submarium. Not a clue. But it was supposed to be an aquarium, with fish and stuff. And they had videos of fish, but not actual fish. I'm not making that up. I mean, they may have had a couple of fish here and there, but mostly it was videos of fish on screens in the submarium. Very disappointed. But not really. I only went because I didn't think that Hull actually had anything else to offer. Perhaps it does. Maybe it's improved. Oldbury, Ranjit.
Hiya, Nicky.
Oh,
how's it going?
Very bad line, Ranjit. There must be something in the air because a lot of people have had trouble with their mobile signals tonight.
No, can you hear me okay?
So far, yes, this is okay now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all right. The donkeys are going about regime change, yeah? Okay. I was going to be very brief on that. And yet, about banning Palestine, whatever it's called, yeah? But he went and shook hands with the former leader of Al-Qaeda. It's just ironic of what goes on nowadays. If you protest about something, it depends on which side of the fight you're on.
Depends on what day it is, which year it is, who's in power. Well, yeah, exactly.
It's just stupid. Okay, you know what? I've got a message for Sir Keir Starmer. Listen, he needs to stop starting this infight now with the left. Yeah, because, when he withdrew the whip of these people that voted against the two-child benefit thing, we live in a democracy, right? We don't live in a dictatorship. And if he wants to be a dictator, he's going to lose that next general election.
But the thing is, a leader of a political party, if they're going to get anything done, they can't really have it as a democracy. There's got to be a leader. It's like the leader of any company. Companies aren't run as democracies. They've got one person at the top who says this is how it's going to be, and that's that.
I know, look, that is the law or whatever, that's how it works, but it needs to be a bit more. I'm probably fighting an uphill battle here, because what's going to happen, I can see the end result, right? You know, when this new party is going to be formed, the vote for the Labour Party is going to get split again, right? Because they've been infighting for the last 14 years.
Yep.
They just get to the top of the hill. When they get there, they start infighting again, and it's just going to make a massive open road for Nigel Farage, because the Tories are pretty well finished. Right, Labour Party. They are.
I think under their current leadership, they're going to have trouble making themselves heard. Yeah, or felt at the ballot box.
They're pretty well finished, so, okay. And by the way, my learned fellow from Melbourne, a friend from Melbourne. Hello, yeah, he's a good guy. Okay, but basically, Nick, right, what's going to happen is that. Like a cream crackered. Labour is going to be a fight between Labour and Reform and Liberal Democrats, yeah? Now, if the Labour Party gets split into two, I think we're heading for very choppy waters, real bad ones, right? I had a bet with you guys, and I said I offered anybody a slap-up meal that Nigel Farage won't get in, but I'm going to still back that one, yeah.
Now, when you say a slap-up meal, what is the venue for this meal?
Anywhere they like up to. I tell you what, I'll £10, £20.
What?
Okay, anywhere they like up to £500, right?
Oh.
Anybody that. Okay, I'll spend £500, right?
Yes.
And double a quits in another 10 years.
Now,
okay?
this £500 meal that I'm going to win. Do you have to actually show up, or can you just pay the bill?
No, you have to show up, mate. You have to. You can't do a Nigel Farage, be the MP for Clacton and not show up. You can't do a Nigel Farage, okay? You have to turn up, right?
Okay. I'm going to turn up. I just wondered if you had to as part of the deal, or can you just send me the money?
No, you're going to say, Ranji, I'll pay you £1,000 not to turn up. I know what you're thinking. Right. But seriously, you know the way the politics of the world's going now, right? Like you just said, he's got that big, beautiful bill passed, right? And then Dinglings saying, yeah, he's going to make America great again. Yeah?
Well, the consequences of that will be felt shortly, and then they will tie themselves in knots to try to excuse the dear leader and blame the ills that this big, beautiful bill is raining down on them. They'll have to figure out some way of blaming it on somebody else.
Nick, I lose patience, when people say, listen, never, just wait. When these people start suffering, they'll do something, yeah? And I don't think they do, because we keep on waiting. I mean, there's so many people that want Boris Johnson back after what he done, right?
Yes.
Okay. No, come on, think about it, right?
I know, they do. They're like, leave him alone. He's doing his best.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I know, they're desperate to get that back.
And in some ways, right, the Labour Party are letting themselves down as a party of the worker, yeah? I mean, Keir Starmer, when he said that thing about we're going to be Islanders strangers, that offended me, and I am a Labour supporter.
Well, he took that back, didn't he? He said he regretted that.
But don't say it, because it falls on those people's ears, right? And they go by it. And then when Rachel Reeves said the other day, right, if you're struggling, go and get a Saturday job. Well, that is something that a Labour chancellor should never ever say, right? And then the health secretary says he wants the new lot of doctors to come from Britain. Well, how many graduates have you got waiting to become doctors? You haven't got any. We haven't invested in our children here at the moment, right? So he's not in a position, right, to say he doesn't want to, obviously. So what he's doing is being right-wing because he's scared of Nigel Farage. And, you know...
There's no point trying to meet him on his own territory, no.
No, you can't do it, right? Today, something interesting happened in France, right? Because these people were trying to launch a boat and it was going to be dangerous, and the French police actually punctured the boat. Yeah. Right? Now, that means they're not going to leave France. So why can't we do more of that? Stop them leaving France? But
well,
then again,
why should France take massively more than we do?
I know. We're in a catch-22 situation, aren't we, really, right? So Labour needs to move away from Nigel Farage and let him burn himself out, because he will, because he'll soon run out of ideas. You know, up the road from here, I think it's Warwickshire or somewhere, they had a leader of the council who's actually resigned, and they've got an 18-year-old councillor who's an acting... Yeah. So they're going to self-implode anyway. The Tories are going to...
Well, you say that, but the people keep saying that about Donald Trump, that the consequences of his actions will actually filter through to the people who voted for him, because all of those cuts that are going to be made in benefits, the medical treatment, the food for families, the food for children at school, all of that stuff, that is going to affect his fans more keenly than it will affect the Democrats, because Republican states are the ones that take more in benefits than Democrat states. Democrat states are by and large, on average, better educated and better off. Republican states are poorly educated and worse off. And Donald Trump's every action is hurting his own fans more than the Democrats. And they haven't quite come to terms with that yet, but I think there will be enormous dissonance in their brains to try to figure out what it is that they have done, which is to get conned by a con man. And they won't admit it because it's too embarrassing, it's too much loss of face, and it's too much loss of identity and hope.
Yeah. You think Donald Trump could say to them, listen, we know Americans are slightly extra large, aren't they? Right? He can turn around and say, well, listen, you don't really need to buy food because you can shed a little bit of timber, right? So you lose a bit of weight. Think about it, your health's going to get better, so you don't need any medicine. And them dinglings will say, well, he's definitely right there, mate. You know what? I do need to
It's a cult. Think of it as religious faith.
Yeah, but we're following it. That's what's annoying me.
Yes, that's right.
You know,
well, not we. Less than a third of the people. I mean, at the very peak in polls lately, Reform have got 25, 27%, something like that, which, fact fans, is not anywhere near a majority. Not even close. 20-odd%, which means the vast majority of the people of this country don't want them. But the only thing that you get from the media is Nigel Farage this, and Nigel Farage that, and reform this, and reform that, and here's Tice again on another TV show. And they just appear so often, it's as though the press are urging them to take over. But trying to persuade us that is the will of the people. But it's not at all. It's not the will of the people any more than it's the will of the people that the Liberal Democrats or the Greenies or any of those other smaller groups should take over. I mean, at most, be a part of a coalition if they can get anybody that wants to work with them. We do need proportional representation in this country. We just do. Like charging in one direction and then charging in another every 5 or 10 years is just not working out for us. And giving a party 100% of the power on less than 50% of the vote is just plainly mad. I mean, it's just not fair, apart from anything else. But then you start to use the word fair and you think, having a tantrum. Here, Ranjit, I've got to go, but thanks for that.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Anybody care what this guy thinks?
No!
0345 6060 973. Youssef in Hampton says, I saw footage earlier of Oasis opening their show in Cardiff tonight. Phones up everywhere. I would have been fuming, and then bottles of some unidentified liquid went flying across the crowd.
Disgusting.
Yeah, we're not missing anything, says Yusuf. No, I don't believe we are. Doreen says, I've currently got my electric blanket switched on. No heatwave in Dundee. What? Your electric blanket? Well, I haven't got Dundee on my weather app. Let me just check on Glasgow. Near enough. 57. Well, that is... I mean, I can understand why you would want an electric blanket on at 57 degrees. Yeah. Maria says, I saw Black Sabbath a few years ago in Russia. Ozzy was definitely past his best, and I fell asleep. You fell asleep? Really? I mean, I can understand why you could be bored, but fell asleep in front of that racket? I find that hard to believe. 0345 6060 973. Brittany in France. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Nick. Hi. Just after you came back down to earth with Ranjit with the political conversation, can I take you back downstream with music again? Yeah. You remember you were talking about punk and you disliking the dobbing aspect?
Yes.
Do you remember Not the 9 O'Clock News? They actually did a spoof song about punk called Dob on You.
Oh.
Which was absolutely hilarious.
I wonder where that came from, because it probably was just somebody who spat on stage, and then somebody spat back, and then everyone was spitting until they stopped doing it. It could have been.
Yeah, it could have been. But one thing I wanted to take issue with was your point about AC/DC being past it. I saw them last year at Wembley, and they I didn't say they were incredible.
I did not say they were past it. In fact, I said the opposite of that. If you watch them, now I know it was a few years ago now, but the gig at River Plate, AC/DC at River Plate, it's still on the internet. It's absolutely astonishing how good they were, and they were about, well, I don't know, 150 years old. They looked like at least 50 years past death. Well, Angus Young did anyway.
So the experience of Angus Young, I mean, he is still an incredible showman, and that crowd was on its feet from the first note until the final.
Yeah.
But I also saw the Eagles last year.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not an emotional guy, but I almost shed a tear when I was in that stadium, thinking this is the actual Don Henley singing the actual Hotel California. And as for Joe Walsh, I mean, the guy can't walk, the guy can't speak, but he can play the guitar.
Yes, he can.
Boy, can he still sing.
Yeah.
He is incredible, and they are still going.
Yeah.
So those old rockers that, as you say, are going to fall off that conveyor belt of life soon, some of them are still really, really going for it. And they're absolutely smashing it out the park.
Well, exactly. And the evidence of that is everything that I saw of Glastonbury over the past week, because I've been going through the footage every night, trying to find someone that was good. And the Ezra Collective were fantastic. Gary Newman was really, really good. And Neil Young showed everybody how to do it. There wasn't anybody that was as vital and as rocking as Neil Young on that entire line.
He was great, but I've got a confession. I had got tickets for Oasis at Heaton Park, and I got them at the time because of the novelty of them, and because my 14-year-old son is going as well. But then I saw Liam do that painful set at that boxing match last year. Do you remember that? I think it was Tyson Fury. He did about 3 numbers, and he was awful. Yes. So it's in 2 weeks' time, or 10 days' time, that I'm at Heaton Park in Manchester, and I must say, I'll watch tonight's gig if it's indeed been streamed, but I'm actually not looking forward to it after that performance.
I bet your son isn't looking forward to having to go with his dad either.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. So are you going to go together, or are you just happen to be in the same place at the same time? And you?
No, we're going to go together. I'm afraid. Together, right. We've booked a hotel room. Yeah, so he's got to stick with his old man. Yeah, we're in the stalls though.
Mind you, at 14, I suppose that is appropriate. If he was 16 or 18, then he'd probably want to leave his dad at home.
You know, you talked about those drunk, fat, white guys that are in their middle ages, picturing at Oasis gigs. Well, one of us will look a bit like that, I'm afraid.
Keep your shirt on, Dave. All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. This text in reference to some while ago, with snoring, silence is golden, but duct tape is silver. These are the jokes, folks. No, that is a thing, isn't it? It's a thing with athletes. Footballers do this. They tape their mouth up at night so they breathe through their nose. And I think the reason is that it stops you snoring and corrects sleep apnea. Don't take my word for it, because I don't know anything. I know about as much about medicine as Donald Trump.
I'm not a doctor.
Neither am I. But that's what they do. They tape their mouth up so they breathe through their nose. And I think the reason is that it stops them snoring and gives them a proper night's sleep. Or it might have some other effect. I really don't know. But if your partner snores, then maybe that's something to think about. Unless taping their mouth up would come with serious consequences and they might die, in which case don't do it. All I can say is don't tape your nose and your mouth up at the same time. That would be very bad advice. Don't do that. Let's have a call in Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Oh yeah, hi. Good evening, Nick.
Yes, Jan.
So I discovered something recently. I thought I'd share it with you. Have you seen these baby podcasts of MAGA baby Trump and baby Putin? They're AI parodies, and they're quite extraordinary because they're babies, but with their adult voices, and they're very short. They're all on lots of different sites. You know, those social platforms like YouTube. I found one on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. But it's. Have you seen them at all?
No, but it's amazing what you can do with AI now. I mean,
that's what I was going to say. It's extraordinary. They're very short, Nick. They're very short, but they're AI generated. Like it's the baby, like a baby, but with, you can see the adult Putin and Donald Trump there. You know what I mean?
It's got a hint of their face on the face of a baby. I know, it's just incredible what you can do. You can just write it down, and the AI will create the moving images of what you've just written, which means that all of those people whose names scroll up at the end of a film, you know, the thousands of people will be video artists and special effects artists and matte artists and all of that. There's just hundreds and hundreds of them. They go up. All of those people just got fired. All of them.
It's all AI's already taken over, and as well. But it's the dialogue as well, which is what's it like? Oh, but like it's like the baby talk. Like they're having a go at each other. Like Trump might say, "Oh, let's settle who's the alpha male here," and then Trump says, "I play golf." And but you ride bears, and or it's about it's crazy talk, or like Putin will say to Trump, that baby Putin, or I should say, would say to baby Trump, "You talk big for a man who needs a bedtime story and wears diapers and things."
Well, you know what? I'm actually going to break a rule, and I'm going to do homework tomorrow, and I'm going to look that up. That sounds like it'd be right up my alley. Jan, I've got to go because I'm past the news, but thanks for the tip.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
No, not really, no. Dave in Poole says, what do you think of Jeremy Corbyn maybe fronting a new party? Reform and Farage can't believe their luck. Splitting the left's vote only helps Reform into government, God forbid. Maybe Rachel Reeves was thinking the same and it brought tears to her eyes, says Dave in Poole. Yeah, I can't see that happening. Jeremy Corbyn fronting a new party? Not really. I mean, I wish him all the best and so on, but and would it split the Labour vote? I mean, would it split the Labour vote more than Reform are splitting the Tory vote, the right-wing vote? Yeah, I don't know. But the upshot is the press are so determined to get Nigel Farage into number 10. And the only reason I can assume is that the the billionaire offshore owners of Britain's press imagine that they'll be taxed less under a Farage regime. And they're probably right. The thing is, if you like what's happening in America, vote for Nigel Farage, because that's the exact same thing that will happen here. If you think that what's happening in America under Donald Trump is a good thing, then that is exactly what will happen here under Farage. Because they're the same people. Same backers, same ideas, same policy plays. The whole thing is the same. It says, Keith in Tottenham says, the Tories announced HS2 when they came to power in 2010. They started construction in 2019 and have built 140 miles. Since 2010, China has completed 30,000 miles of high-speed rail network, including stations and support infrastructure. Starmer now wants us to prepare for a war with Russia. Is he mad, or were we mad for electing him? Well, I mean, the last part first. Starmer wants us to prepare for a war with Russia. That doesn't mean that Starmer wants to start a war with Russia. He just wants us to prepare for one in the eventuality that they attack us. I mean, that's just sensible. And as for China completing 30,000 miles of high-speed rail network, as we've completed just 140, yeah. Well, infrastructure is pretty bad in this country. Our ability to produce infrastructure, not that great. Never has been, really. Not in the modern era. But there's a benefit that we don't have that China does, and that is they have an autocratic government that doesn't need to take into account the feelings of its citizens. They just think it up and do it. And that's the end of it. But we don't have that here. You know, we've got all sorts of people who are saying, well, you know, you can't do this and you can't do that, and it's got to be underground here and overground there, and what about the bats? The bats! You know, all that stuff. But, yeah, it's pretty... HS2, I mean, that whole thing is pretty shameful. Where the hell's the money gone? I mean, that's what I don't understand. Where's the money gone? Well, you know, Bodger Bloomin' Johnson...
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He said that he wanted another bridge over the Thames. And I thought it was a good idea. I was quite looking forward to that bridge. The Garden Bridge. And apparently, I am making this number up, but I think it's correct, that something of the order of £50 million was spent on the preparations for that bridge. 50 million. It didn't even get built. Where did the 50 million go? How is it possible to spend £50 million on a bridge that doesn't get built? Now, it might not be 50 million, it might be 5, but I think it was 50. Somebody should look that up. 0345 6060 973. Eastbourne. Hello, Kelly.
Hello.
Kelly.
Hi. Hi.
Yes, Kelly.
Hi.
Say it again.
Hi.
Yes,
Hello.
Kelly.
Yes, Kelly. I know. Radio.
Okay. 0345 6060 973. I do believe that Kelly was listening to herself on the radio, but was only hearing herself 7 seconds after she'd said something, because we're on a delay. And that will fry your brain. Here is a recording of her brain being fried. Kitty says, my ex was a musician. At every gig they would fill out a form saying what songs they were playing and who wrote them so that royalties could be paid. Really? That was very decent of your ex. Does anybody actually have full knowledge of that, whether that's true? If you've got to pay royalties if you play somebody's song, not play it on the radio, I mean play it on stage. I mean, who would check on that? I just find it surprising, if that is indeed true. And how would you judge? Because, you know, if you're playing Wembley Stadium, then that would be significantly different than if you're playing the local working man's club. Would it be the same amount? I mean, suppose the Stones covered a song by Albert King or, you know, B.B. King or one of those kings. Would they have to pay him millions because it's the Rolling Stones and hundreds of thousands of people would be watching him do it? I've got no idea. These are just questions. I'm just asking questions. And you're thinking, what are you asking me for? Cornwall. Hello, Malcolm.
Hello, Nick.
Malcolm.
I've rung up to discuss something which I think might be quite controversial, but I'm thinking it anyway. I think it's been a good week or a bad week for Labour, I think.
Yes.
Because I think they're going to make some big shifts in policy in the coming months. And yes, they've been foisted upon them, but they're things that the electorate, not just the Labour supporters, but things the electorate want.
Like what?
Well, I think that there's going to be more spending. And I think there's going to be more taxing.
Yeah, but only one of those things does the electorate want. They want nice things, and they want to be able to rely on the NHS and the police and the street lights and the roads and all of that stuff, but they don't want to actually have to pay the taxes to make it happen.
Well, I don't think the masses will. I think that there's going to be some rinsing going on, to coin an old phrase. And
rinsing of whom?
There'll be some pips mildly squeaking, I think.
Where, though? Where will they be squeaking? Who is going to be the squeaking people?
I think the over 60,000.
The over 60,000 what?
Yeah. And I think capital holders.
Oh, you mean people who... what was the 60,000? Are you saying over 60,000 a year earning?
Yeah, well...
Right, well, you missed that part.
It's 40-odd. It's 40-odd, isn't it? The upper tax rate.
Right.
Yes.
Well, those aren't the people that are earning the money. The people that are earning the money don't get their money from wages. So that would be the wrong thing to do for a start. They need to equalise capital gains tax with earnings.
That was my other one. I think there's going to be people who don't work for their money. They may have worked, and that work earned them, the opportunity to then build capital.
Yeah.
But now they've got capital, I think they're going to lose some of their capital.
Right. Well, they can afford it. They can afford it.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing with billionaires, the patriotic millionaires and other organisations, Oxfam, organisations like that, they've suggested that billionaires, people with, who are in the top 20,000 richest people in the world, if we just tax them 2% of their assets, then we would get enough money to solve world hunger. Now, whether we would actually spend it in that way is questionable, but that is the amount we're talking about. And it wouldn't affect those people at all, because £1 billion is £1,000 million. So even if you took £100 million from them, they'd still have £990,000 million. Did I get that right? I'm doing mental arithmetic on the radio.
Oh, no. There was a show, an earlier evening show.
Yes.
It was Tom Swarbrick's show, and it's not a reflection on Tom. I like Tom in many ways, but Tom had 3 guests, and he had them on to be because he wants to be a little bit edgy, so on and so forth. But he had 3 millionaires on, and there were 3 millionaires who they were there to talk about millionaires leaving Britain.
Oh, God.
And you know what? Oh, honest to God. The feature fell a little bit flat. Tom tries, to make it the searching, but I sent in a text to Tom. It wasn't read out, but the text went along the lines of,
you're not bitter.
I've never heard 3 more belligerent, rude, nasty people talking on the radio to ordinary non-millionaires.
Yeah.
And the 3 people, Nick, who, by the laws of life, should be just the happiest, most joyful people who are millionaires.
That's what does. That's what fries my mind. I just don't
Nick,
get the mental hoops that they have to go through to not be happy with an amount of money that other people aspire to. They think that if I can get that kind of money by winning the lottery or whatever, then only then will I be happy. And then they get there and they're still not happy.
I can't all three with largely the same guys, but there was the one fella, he was on, what's the programme where they have people on with small businesses and they offer to buy into the business? I forget the name of it.
But Dragon's Den?
Dragon's Den. There was, and he was Australian, and he wasn't all bad, but the two others, Nick, the one was a woman who I've actually seen on the TV news talking about it on Newsnight when I was young. She's a Canadian millionaire who is about to move to Italy because she's going to be taxed too much in Britain. And you could almost hear the population of Britain just saying, go to Italy, girl, go now. Yes. Can we help you with your ticket kind of thing? You know? But the three nasty, more belligerent people, and people were calling in, to talk about millionaires and millionaires leaving, or why don't you go because we don't need you kind of thing. And they were just so rude to the listeners of LBC. And I'm thinking, I bet there won't be another show like that for a while. Right. It's just awful, yeah. But I think Starmer and Reeves, and I think certain others within the Labour Party, I think they've smelt reality this week, and it's not a pleasant smell. And I think that they're going to have to change their views on British life, or the smell will hit the fan.
Well, they're going to have to they're going to have to stop acting in the interests of the donor class.
The rich,
they are a party that doesn't need the donor class. You're almost uniquely in this country. They don't need the donor class because they get the most of their money from small amounts from a large number of people, whereas the Tories and Reform get large amounts from a small number of people. And so obviously they're going to act in the interests of those small number of people.
Well, Rachel Reeves said this evening, has said, because it's featured in a story on Apple News, she's done an interview. She's done an interview now, and she has more or less said there will be tax increases. So I think this could see a big change in, one, the way Labour presents themselves. Because someone commented after the Wednesday debacle that, the Ming Vase theory is alive and kicking still. 430 odd majority, and they're still scared, to say boo to a goose.
Right. Well, they're going to have to lose that. They're going to have to lose that timidity straight away. The first year is gone, and not a success. I think mostly it wasn't a success because their comms are terrible. Their communication with their intended audience is just abysmal. And that's probably because Keir Starmer is not really a politician. He's a lawyer. So they need somebody who knows that game, and that is essentially what it is, because they're up against people who only have that game, and they're doing very well. I mean, Farage, what's he got other than the game, other than his image, other than the prop pint and a fag, and the tweed jacket and the spotlessly clean wellies, all of that. It's just... it's the same as Boris Johnson.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, they're just characters on stage. They're playing. They're acting in a TV show, is what it is. Same as Trump. So that's where we are now. Like it or not, that's what you've got to contend with. You've got to tell people what you're going to do. You've got to convince them that it's good. You've got to tell people that you're doing it, and then you've got to tell people you've done it. And the Labour Party this last year have been singularly abysmal at doing that, at blowing their own trumpet. And it might sort of rub them up the wrong way. It might not be who Keir Starmer is, but he's either got to step aside and let somebody who can mouth off like that take centre stage, or he's going to have to take lessons. I don't know. Hey, Malcolm, we're going to go and pass the break, but thanks for that.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
We are running late. Let's try Eastbourne again and see if Kelly is with it. Yes, Kelly?
I'm with you. Hey,
There
how
you are.
are you?
I'm great, mate.
There we are. I'm going to follow on, actually. This isn't for my... the reason why I called, actually, I was going to call you about a tick bite. But the Nigel Farage comment, I did actually meet him in a pub once in Kent, just after he wrote a car off. And he was escorted, well, he was in a Range Rover, actually, delivered to the pub, had a pint of ale, and smoked a cigar. And he was actually quite a pleasant guy, actually. But that's not the point of my call. The point of my call was I went to Ainsley and I went to see N-Dubs for a $5.
Oh, yeah.
And I got bitten by a tick.
Oh.
And I'm really struggling with my leg. Well, actually, I left there, I went to Stonehenge, and then I was bitten by a tick, and I'm really struggling with my leg. And I just wanted to put tick awareness out to people in the West Country.
Yeah.
Be careful with what you do, because I'm 47 years of age and I can't go out in the sunlight for 3 weeks. And
oh, really?
With a horrid.
How do you get a tick bite? Do you have to be in a certain environment?
Yeah. Well, apparently West Country, it's the doctors say it's quite rife, grass, like in any grassy areas or anything like that, and. West, I think because the climate has changed for us.
Yeah.
So.
Why is it different to like a mosquito bite?
Because it ends up filling up like a massive big ring around your leg, right? And then it takes over your whole leg, and spots and whatever come out. I mean, my ring did not come out for probably about a week. Really, if you get bitten by a tick, it should be caught within 72 hours. So anybody walking in any grassy environment in these high temperatures, they really need to take care of wearing clothing that is going to stop anything going up to, I was wearing a dress, dancing in the fields, like Silly Billy. But anybody, dog walkers or anyone like that, you must look after yourself, especially elderly. I'm 47 years of age, and it's really, I can't go out for 3 weeks now.
Right. Well, I think
it's really impacted me.
Well,
so
from now on, I'm not leaving the house without a hazmat suit.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the thing is, what I need to do now is go out and I need to Google what a hazmat suit is actually as a go.
Well, how about a diving suit with flippers?
Oh, I'd love that, because it would take me so long to walk through the countryside, right?
Yeah. You'd look fantastic in a diving suit with flippers, Kelly.
You don't even know what I look like.
No, I've got no idea. I'm begging you not to send me a picture.
What I would like to say is take care, because we had a lovely... We paid a $5 to go to N-Dubs and Ainsley. We walked up to Stonehenge. We had a fantastic time, but I think I might have put it in the bush or whatever. But it's just... Please, everybody who's having festivals in the West Country, check your body.
Yes.
Please make sure that you're careful. And
all excellent advice, and I wish you all the best. Thanks a lot, Kelly. On the subject of whether you have to pay to play somebody else's music, this says PRS, the Performing Rights Society, are ferocious about collecting revenue for live music. It's a percentage of ticket sales. Bands provide a set list, a PRS return, so what they play is quantified. Well, I wonder how they do it, because, say in a big set, they play somebody else's track. you could, I guess, quantify it like that. It's one of 13 songs they play and times the number of people there and as a percentage of blah, blah. But suppose it's just a couple of notes. Because every now and again you'll hear a band and they'll just, in the middle of one of their songs, they'll start playing somebody else's for about, 4 or 8 bars, and then they'll go back to their own. So does that count too? Again, I'm asking you. What do you know? This says, Nick, I'm pretty sure that when a band performs any song live, even if it's a cover, the original songwriter receives royalties via the Performing Rights Society. Huh. And this text says, this is controversial. It says, Nick, you say that Oasis are over... It says, Nick, you say that Oasis are an overrated band, and I certainly agree with you. However, in my humble opinion, the most overrated musician on the planet has to be Bruce Springsteen. What? Oh, come on. The guy who wrote The River? The man who wrote Candy's Room? What are you talking about? On that subject, here's a call in Paddington. Hello, Richard.
Unfortunately, some of your listeners have already said it for me. Performing Rights Society.
Right.
They collect all the rights or royalty, and they're quite at it. Every music venue that plays music, live or otherwise, have to have a PRS, as I understand it, license.
Huh.
And so if you think, I'm going to have this club, and you can get, I'm not too sure, it's not founded in law as such, but you can get into some trouble, copyright trouble. But yeah, writing a list out of like every band will do that. Oasis will have done that tonight. They've written it out and sent it. If you are a member, you see, because then they get the monies as well.
Right.
So it's a bit like, it's like a musicians' union or equity.
Yes.
So that's it. So there you go. Just to clear that one up, yeah.
Excellent work there, Richard. Thanks a lot for that. A very, very educational show, no?
No.
Well, almost by accident every now and again. This says, I'm going to see Black Sabbath tomorrow. Any tips on surviving 10-plus hours in Villa Park? Yeah, take a hat. And thank me later. Take one with a brim that goes all the way around. And I would slather yourself with suntan lotion. Or sun protection lotion, rather. And don't drink too much too early, because I've made that mistake before. And you don't want to peak early on in the day. You don't want to be passed out by the time Ozzy passes out. Ozzy should pass out before you do. Otherwise, you'll have a miserable time. Cardiff. Hello, Richard.
Hello there. Yes, I used to be a DJ for Butlins.
Hey!
And I used to do the Butlins Country Western Festivals.
Yeah.
And I firstly had to be licensed as a DJ for Butlins. And I also, bearing in mind what the last caller said, each end of each weekend, I used to provide a list of what records I played by what artists, and then submit it to the society. And I had to do that every year. So I'd remind every year.
Right.
And every festival I did, I'd send a listing of what records I'd used and what artists run them. So let's just clear that up. What happened to that list? I haven't got a clue, but I just
as long as that was the last of your responsibilities, filling it out. What happens next? Not your job. All right, good to talk to you. Thanks, Richard. The most alarming thing about what he just said was that he needed a license to be a DJ. 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 License to be a DJ.